And welcome to the GodisaGeek Game of the Year 2023 deliberations. My name's Adam Cook. This is day one, and we'll get to more in a minute. But first of all, it's time to introduce the cast of heroes to you. In no particular order, Chris White.
Let's get this party started.
He's going to do
Mick Fraser.
that. Hello, everybody.
Lyle Carr.
Game of the Year 2023, everyone.
Yeah. Chris Hyde.
Hi.
You all right, mate? You just if someone at your lunch, mate. You seem a bit off colour.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to be here with all you lovely people.
Yeah, it seems
Passing
it, yeah.
me up.
What did you think? I thought Chris White liked the intro. He won the intro wars there.
I think he had the best intro. Let's just say that.
cracking.
Yeah, I think
It
that's
was
fair.
awesome.
I think that's what
I
the
don't know how he
audience would
thought of
say.
it. It was genius.
Fueled by steak pasties, lads.
Yep.
Yeah.
No question there. Let's listen. We've got to get into this because it's a big old year. You know, if you've got your bingo cards ready, it's been a hell of a year of games. But we'll come to that, and you can make your own bingo cards if you want. But we do have to do something before we explain what the hell we're doing here, and that is ask what everybody's drinking. Mick, what are you on?
I'm on gin.
Yeah. Love,
Yeah,
that's a
it's
good
my
session.
hop-
It's a good portion.
Is that straight gin?
It's gin from
No.
a hobgoblin.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my God, Chris!
Let's go.
So it's
Drinking a bottle of gin.
It's worth noting that this is an audio and video podcast you can watch, and for those listening purely, Mick held up a big pint glass of hobgoblin that is just water, and Chris believed, without
It's
question,
not a pint glass. For those
It's
that
not
are
water.
audio.
It is gin. It's gin
Nick
and
hasn't
lemonade.
got that smaller hands. That he's
I
holding
just
a
thought
pint
he had okay, fine.
It
Nick's
is a
on
pint
gin.
glass. It's a pint glass.
Thank
of
you.
Gin and lemonade.
Thank you. Mick's on the gin and lemonade. We got there with the lemonade. Chris White, always a pleasure to find out your beverage of choice.
Well, I didn't know if people were drinking at this time, so I've got a normal drink, and I've got just some cheap like bourbon for now.
Okay.
Some apple juice.
And some apple juice, of course. No, of
'Cause I'm
course.
5 years old.
Okay.
You
No,
mix
that's
the bourbon
Hell,
with the apple
Gonna
juice.
hiss when you
have
open that.
I don't
No,
know.
no.
Bourbon and apple juice a thing.
I don't know,
Make
you
it a
know.
thing.
But maybe I was just thinking that when I said it.
I used to
Maybe
drink Southern Comfort with Lilt. That was fantastic.
yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna do
doable.
it.
Yeah, that's
I'm
doable.
gonna do it now. Well, I'm gonna.
Yes, again, it's an audio form, so not Let's move on to Lyle. What's Lyle got?
I have a steeplechase pale ale currently.
Okay, very very Chambers of you, if I may.
Yeah, I got a free box of that subscription thing that he always gets.
You got to crush the can on your head when you finish that.
It's fine.
Okay, well,
Chris,
look forward to that.
So you've got alcohol, everything, alcohol, and now Chris
Chris
Hyde,
has just
of
got the
course.
bottom level of his fridge out.
Yes.
Bobby Boucher.
I've got water.
Ah.
Hey,
Boo.
one of us has to keep a clear head for these deliberations.
No, but
I
you
think
see,
One of
it's
us takes it
vodka. I
fucking
think that's why
seriously.
you get steadily more and more violent.
it's not.
as
It
the
is
evening goes
water.
on.
And the thing about it is, right, is what disappoints me the most. It's not that he drinks water. It's that he doesn't class it up at all, because, like, some of us have got water. It's just the way you drink it, isn't it?
Have you got a Cristal champagne glass going
Just
on
the
there?
way you drink
Should
it.
have had the pinky
It's
up
just,
for that.
no, I couldn't do that. I was going to, but I couldn't do it. But yes, some people just have to class it up a bit. That's all I'm saying.
I'll tell you what. That is nice.
What, apple juice and bourbon is not.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
had to be nice. It was going to be
Yeah, I
nice.
reckon-
Do you know? There's
yeah.
a clue. There's a clue in that, really, because apple juice is nice, and so is bourbon.
Yeah,
Bourbon.
bourbon goes with everything.
Bourbon.
Listen,
So important.
we're not drunk yet, and it's Game of the Year Day 1, and that means that we're here to talk about the best re-release or remake, which is our first category, the nicest surprise, the second category. I swear I'm not drinking gin, and the third
Social
category
media.
of Day 1 is biggest disappointment. You will hear. We will do top fives for the first day, apart from biggest disappointment, which is top threes, because it's as much misery as we can cope. 3 of them we have to. It's bad enough. So, best
We're a
re-release
positive
or
bunch.
best. What was that, Mick?
I said we're a positive bunch.
Oh, fucking.
Move that on.
Does anyone
Cut that out.
does anyone remember, without looking at the doc, what won last year's best re-release or remake?
Resi? Was there a Resi last year?
No,
What year are we in? I don't remember.
doesn't matter.
Last of Us, Part 1.
Correct, Christopher.
This
Correct.
is my third pint of gin. So.
No, I'm getting that. Yeah, no. The last year best re-release was The Last of Us Part 1 with Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII Reunion, Destroy All Humans 2, No Man's Sky on Switch, which I almost would have sworn was this year, and Nier Automata Switch. bringing up
Destroy
from
all
first to fifth.
humans.
Well, it's on the list, mate. I don't.
Wait.
I was
No,
going to
I've
say I
just gotta
don't make the
Remember
list,
this,
but
then.
you know, I do
Well,
sort of
no.
make the list. I was part of it. This year's nominations, then, it's quite a big list. So I'll just rattle them off and we can get started. For best re-release or remake, the nominations are Resident Evil 4 Remake, Metroid Prime Remastered, Dead Space, Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, Ghost Trick Phantom Detective, Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, System Shock, Super Mario RPG, Star Ocean The Second Story R, Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1, Layers of Fear, Like a Dragon Ishin, Pikmin 1+2 HD, Vampire Survivors, and The Legend of Heroes Trails to Azure, which is quite a good place to start, I think, isn't it, that last game?
Isn't it, Lyle?
Isn't it, Lyle?
Yes, it is, because I did this, I think, last year as well. It's a game that doesn't really fit anywhere else, but it's actually the first time it's released in Europe. I think it might be the first time it's released West, actually. But it's a great RPG that's sort of like, it's a remake, but it wasn't released here before. It's a game that's good enough that it'll be on like some people's like overall, top games of the year. Like it's a well-loved series and it's a really, really good game in it, but it sort of doesn't fit this category or any other category. So this is where I sneak it in every year.
But so is it actually a re-release then, or is it a first release, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it's a first release, but I guess it's like a update from when it was first like released in Japan, which was on the PSP, I believe. So it's like they've like zhuzhed it up since then, but yeah, it's not been released here ever before. So it kind of doesn't really qualify, but it's a weird sort of middle ground where it doesn't really fit in anywhere. So it gets put in this category, and I don't think they've got any more to re-release, so I won't do this next year, I promise, probably.
We'll see.
If there's any one that could find another game, it's the Legend of Heroes or the Trails series. That I'm sure there's one, like a PSP variant or something.
Oh, probably, yeah.
PlayStation Pocket.
I think there was actually 2 this year.
Well, that doesn't. So, I should just very briefly explain. We have to cut them by discussing them, get this down to a list of 5. So, does that sound like the easy start for us?
That sounds like a very
it's
easy start,
fair,
right?
yeah.
It's only going to be me who's played it, I believe, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think in that sense as well, like a Dragon Ishin is technically the same in the sense that it was released in Japan and not over here. And then we've got it this year.
But
so
is it...
globally, it's a re-release because it has been re-released.
But is it just the original game then?
I think it's the original with kind of not updated visuals, but just a bit of polish. But it's not like I just assumed it technically is a re-release because it has been re-released.
Do you know? I don't know, if I'm honest with you, because the only game I can think of that they haven't. Well, they've done Yakuza 0 and Kiwami 1 and 2, and then they just put 3, 4, 5 out as like a collection, didn't they? That I don't
They were called the remastered collection, but I don't know.
But I don't think they had an awful lot done.
It, no.
6 was a newer game, so they didn't need that. The only one I can think of, and I can't actually remember the name of it, was there was a zombies one.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, was it? Oh yeah, I can't remember.
I
the
don't
name
think
of
that's
it, but
had
I
the
know one you
redo,
mean.
has it?
Is it Dead Souls? Maybe Dead
Yes,
Souls.
That
Yes.
sounds right.
Yes.
Yakuza Dead Souls sounds right. I don't think that's been redone, but
God.
But we're also we talked about it in November podcast about the sort of splintering of the series now. How you got the it's now. It is weird to me. I don't know if we'll get a chance to talk about it again, but it is weird to me that they have all the success with Yakuza, and they have just decided I don't know, is Yakuza offensive? Is it a bit too brusque? I don't know. But now it's Like a Dragon, which it's weird. But
Yeah.
I haven't played this one. This is one of the ones I haven't played. So if you're cutting it, as the sort of other guy here who loves that series,
Well, there's lots of other good games in this list.
isn't there?
I'm not.
It's
I'm
a
not at
bit
that
stacked in it.
early on. I'm not at that point ready to fight for it. And also, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't the best. The combat was a bit kind of sluggish compared to like the polish we get now. So
you see, I mean, I can remove it if no one else is going to speak to it. For now, No, it's just. Already, we're sort of, as we're whittling this down to, I mean, I can change them to numbers, actually. That would probably help so we can see how many we've got to cut. 13 already. As we whittle these down to 13, we're sort of into It's a really weird thing this year, I find, with this category, because you've got games that are like full-on remakes. Like, just to look at them briefly, Resident Evil 4, Dead Space, System Shock actually is one, Super Mario RPG is another. But you've also got games on this list, like Metroid Prime Remastered, that hasn't... It's not what you'd call a full remake, but it's no less brilliant. And you've got games like Vampire Survivors, which...
I was going to ask about that. Was that
I think we need
really
to...
a re-release? Like, because
I think we need to get into this.
Last year anyway.
I think it hit 1.0 this year and then was released on Switch at the same time as, or just after the 1.0.
That doesn't feel like a remake or re-release. That feels like a game
kind
coming
of
out of
isn't.
early access.
That's exactly what it is, I think. But someone may need to do some research to check for. I'm pretty sure it came out this year.
I mean, I don't mind it being featured because a certain other very big game came out of early access this year, which I'm sure will pop up at some point. And that's that, but we didn't class that as a re-release or a remake.
No, I mean, if that's the case, then that should perhaps be on this list.
Yeah, I don't think Vampire Survivors should be on this list. I think it should be on others. If it was released full release this year, I think it's a new game. I don't think coming out of early access classes as a re-release.
Yeah, I can't recall if that's definitely what happened or not.
I've said it now, and I'm like, is that right?
Yeah.
I feel like it is, but let's leave it for now and agree that we will drop it off if it is, not a re-release. Because Mick's kind of nailed a point there that, like, if he's right, if that stays on this list and that's the case, we have to bring Baldur's Gate onto this list. And I don't feel comfortable with either because they're not re-releases, they are 1.0. They are. You could go best early access, but that's not this category.
So the game was released on PC on October the 20th, 2022, and Xbox on November the 10th.
So it is a re-release,
and then it was the Switch version that came in August with the co-op and stuff.
Yeah, so it was out of early access.
It was October last year, so it is October. Yeah. So in that respect, what we need to do then is add that to it, add Switch to it, Vampire Survivors on Switch, because that is what we are specifically talking about, the Switch version of the game. Yeah. Which and last year we had Nier Automata Switch, No Man's Sky Switch. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which begs the question. I mean, it seems like a big cut early doors if we're cutting it. I'm reticent.
I don't mind
to not
leaving
discuss
it there. I mean,
some of the other games.
Yeah, I think there's other ones we'd probably, I would assume would be cut first, but I don't.
I mean, if you're talking best, you can cut quite easily System Shock, System Shock remake. It wasn't a great remake, and honestly, it doesn't hold up that well.
See, that's I would disagree that it wasn't a great remake. I would say it's a great remake if you really love the original.
Yeah, maybe that's fair. Yeah.
It is faithful, but I also definitely agree with what you've just said that.
I didn't enjoy playing it.
Hold up.
I did back in the day, I think, but
no, I don't think that game holds up. And I think part of bringing a game out again, like if we were to compare that. I guess the one-to-one comparison would be for a Dead Space or a Resi 4 remake, where they are from the ground up remakes of original games remaining faithful, or Super Mario RPG remaining faithful.
Yeah. I think I put System Shock on the list, I think, and I'm comfortable with it going. It's not best, but it was a re-release this year.
I don't think anyone's going to argue too much with this because I don't think anyone else has played it, but I think very early on in the year I popped Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe on this list because it is a remake and it's a good video game. Like Kirby's a series I have a very strange relationship with because people laud Kirby, as one of the big Nintendo franchises. I've always found, not always, I often find the games are too easy for me to find fun in, which is not to say I don't like easy games or don't play games on easy ever. But Return to Dreamland is one of the good ones, if that makes sense. A bit like, what was the Forgotten Land, the 3D one that was really good, the new one?
Oh, God, yes. Is it Forgotten Land, isn't it? The car
something.
one?
Yeah, that's the one, yeah. But this wasn't like a SNES game redone. It was, I think, like a fairly modern game that just was spruced up, looked nice. Yeah, and like it was really fun, and I still liked it. But I don't think it can keep the company even if something like a Vampire Survivors Switch. So unless anyone argues, Kirby's Dream Land Deluxe can go very easily.
Yeah. No, I think that's fine. It's a really good Kirby game. It's one of my favorites in the series. But again, if like in terms of best remake, I don't necessarily know if it would hang. And it's a hell of a category this year.
Weird. It's weird how good this category is this year. Any others that sort of stand out?
Layers of Fear
stands out for me was Layers of Fear.
Well, there we go.
And I think I played Layers of Fear when it was first released. I think I might have previewed it once upon a time.
Is this the collection of the two?
I don't know.
It's a collection of the two plus some DLC plus some extra DLC that focuses on the original game more so than the reason I put it on is because the original Layers of Fear was all right. It was all right. It was quite good. But this,
I liked it.
Like the visuals and the atmosphere and the way they seamlessly transition between this nightmarish world within the house you start in, it's ridiculous. Like, certain games where you walk towards something and you turn around and where you've just walked is gone and it's a new area. Like, the transitioning in that sense is phenomenal. And it's just a really good, it's linear, pretty much. It's pretty linear.
Yeah.
But it's a fantastic game. And the story itself as well, you very rarely miss anything because it doesn't push you in any particular direction. You do kind of feel quite free in a sense, but you never you won't miss out on the story. So you get to absorb this really well written narrative and all these documents that highlight this fractured relationship between the artist, the painter, and the artist and musician, and how their love starts to fall apart and they're they've got a kid, so that kind of plays into it. So I think as a remake, they've done a fantastic job in remaking the original Layers of Fear, threading through this story outside of that, and outside of Layers of Fear 2 is about this writer who's gone to this lighthouse to write a story about the characters featured in the two games. So that plays into it all, and it's just a really smart, well put together package. So that's why it's in there. And I'd rather talk about other games first before we look at cutting that. So there are a lot of good games on this list, but this is a really good game, I thought.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean,
I can offer a counter.
Yeah.
Right, and it's I think it's quite an easy one, and that's Ghost Trick, Phantom Detective.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Because that game is amazing. I'm never going to argue about that game not being a top quality, wacky, silly, amazing, adventure game. Totally unique as well. But in terms of remake, I'm not really sure what it did other than, it took a DS game, it made it look a bit shiny, and it put it on, modern stuff.
See, oh, man. Oh.
Yeah.
My argument would be for this is that no fucker played that game originally, and the idea that this got a second go, and I would probably guess no fucker played it again. I can't believe Capcom gave it another go. Let alone that they put it on everything.
Expected.
I mean, that game's so wonderful and so twisted and weird, and I feel like even now, a lot of sort of similar games in the genre are kind of cribbing from it, and it's almost like now it's like someone's got to go to them. You're gonna have to come up with your own ideas and be weird on your own account now, because this game's been re-released for a new generation, and you can't just be weird like that, I mean, if no one else is going to save it, I think with 11 games to go, it's there has to be.
I have to defer because I'm one of the assholes that has not played either version, so I can't
fuckers. I believe I said no fucker has played it. Just clear on that. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm one of the fuckers that hasn't played either one, so I can't talk to the quality or of the base game or what the remake improved or anything.
No,
like
the
that.
remake doesn't do very much aside from take it from DS onto every other system and HD it up. Like, I'm not going to. I can't argue because this is not an opinion-based thing. That's a fact. Like, it didn't do anything. Like, I think, is it like Music Select or maybe Chapter Select or something?
Yeah,
but like
that sort of bare minimum.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say it's that. I would say it's like they didn't bother. They just put it out. They would just when we could put this out and flog a few more copies. But like, it's one of the best games on this list. It depends how much people want to bend the rules to be, or not even the rules because there are rules. But if it's being cut, it's being cut. But like that game, I just feel like. It's almost with best re-release. You're sort of saying if you've played it before, or even if you've never played it, this is our recommendation. Go and do that.
Are there easier cuts then?
Yeah, because even if somebody hasn't played it, surely, if you're saying that it's that good, and there's a few other games on there that I pretty much am sure aren't going to get cut from a best re-release or remake, maybe keep it for a bit.
But to counter my own argument. I forget if it was Chris or Lyle that reviewed it, but didn't whoever do it give it like an 8 or an 8.5?
I reviewed it.
It was Chris that reviewed it, yeah.
And if Chris is saying...
Do you know what? The way I'm looking at it is that there are 5 other games that won't be
more worthy, I suppose, is the...
From my point of view, my opinion. I could have picked 3 other games straight away. Then I just went for that one first. It wasn't anything personal.
No, but it does seem like I'm the only one who's really like saying, "Oh, that should stay," and that's not the way it works. It's like I'm not. It's not even. Oh, I'm the only one who played it. Like 3 of us played it, and only one of us is saying it should stay.
Well,
it's got to go. It's got to go.
Adam, like Ghost Trick or Advance Wars, you've always highlighted it. Then
I'd probably keep Ghost Trick out of the. Ghost Trick is the better game, but I guess Advance Wars is a better remake. But I think neither of those are going to actually end up in a top 5. So if you want to rip that band-aid off, and rip it off and get them both.
I mean, obviously we've got to cut them, and then we've got to bloody rank them. And this is the ranking. I think is going to be tough as well.
But what I do want to be conscious of is that we not that I'm trying to rush us or in any way. There is no point in keeping both of those games. If I am the sole voice saying they should stay. And if I'm completely honest, there's 4 games that I would easily say need to be above both of them, which means one of them couldn't even get into my top 5.
Mm-hmm. And you're the only one.
And I'm the only one fighting for them. So I'm not. Listen, the elephant in the room is Ghost Trick or Advance Wars better than Resident Evil 4? No. Metroid Prime? No. Dead Space? No. Mario RPG.
Not to reveal your hand too early.
No, but no, I'm going down the list. Mario RPG. In terms of remake, probably not. Look, I would also cut Pikmin 1 and 2. And I'm not trying to just like rip off like all the Nintendo people here and just get rid of Advance Wars, Pikmin. But I think they're 3 cuts that I know why Pikmin 1 and 2 is on there, but let's not make any bones about it. If Ghost Trick goes, Pikmin 1 and 2 have to go as well, because it's exactly the same thing. Fantastic games, but as a remake, they do nothing. Yeah. They're just re-releases.
Yeah.
I think that's
pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I think for Pikmin 1 and 2, I think one of the good elements of that is that like it was before Pikmin 4. They've already got Pikmin 3 on there, so it's kind of like filling out
together is collection. A nice thing. That is a nice thing.
And do you know what? If I were Nintendo, I would release a physical box version with like because there is a Pikmin amiibo, and I would put like a collector's edition for Pikmin. I'd put all 4 games in there, and I think that would be a really cool. I mean that. Now that, if they re-release that next year, that's a re-release we should talk about. Like, all 4 Pikmins. But like when we have 11 games on this list and no one's fighting for Ghost Trick, no one's fighting for Advance Wars, and no one's fighting for Pikmin, we can get that down to 8 pretty quickly, or 9 rather. No, 8. I was right the first time.
8, yeah. No, I think that's...
but before we do, I just want to shout out Advance Wars 1 and 2. For a lot of people, they will be the game that started the love affair with that genre. Not everyone, like, because there were like the Final Fantasy Tactics were also that, but they were wonderful games back in the day. They were faithful to them, not like 100%, but like 99.99% faithful. Like, and it looks beautiful. It's still hard as balls. I love that they didn't actually make any concessions in that respect, but also some concessions would have been nice because some of those levels are really hard. The music is absolutely fucking quality. But the sad truth is that a bit like Ghost Trick, no one seems to have played them. Certainly not from our team. And so I will propose then, I will fall on my own sword and say Ghost Trick, Advance Wars, and Pikmin 1 and 2 gone. Any dissent?
Not from me.
No dissent here. Boss, do it.
I'm fine with that, and I think there's something else that needs going. So I'm jumping in here.
Yeah, go for it.
And isn't the Metal Gear Solid collection supposed to be like a bit shit? Like, didn't they release like a PS1 game at 30 FPS and like baby resolution? Like, is that not really kind of an unacceptable, probably shouldn't be on this list thing?
So the one thing I would say is what Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1, and I know Chris White's going to have plenty to say, so I wanted to jump in first. What I will say is this means... So what we just talked about with Pikmin, how it's like 1, 2, 3, and 4, what a collection that would be. That's kind of what this is. It's the first half... I mean, that's a weird way of saying it. But the earlier Metal Gear Solid games, all together on modern consoles for the first time. And people will take the piss and be like, oh, backwards compatibility. But that's as maybe. Like, it depends what console you're playing on, right? And for PlayStation owners, for example... Look, I'd cut it. I will say that. Because I heard enough about it to suggest that it is good, but they also could have done a bit more, is the way I would put it.
I mean, they are good games. Like,
well,
again,
I disagree
the
there,
well.
but that's
like,
not the
these
point.
Good games are still... Oh, okay. Well...
First two are good.
Yeah.
Wait,
I forgot
Captain
3 was on there.
Bourbon
No, I
to...
agree.
You don't like Snake Eater?
No, I don't, mate. I'm sorry. I've never gotten with it.
Yeah, it's
No,
rubbish.
I've tried so many times. I've sat
Why are
and
you
watched...
being a twat?
Hey?
He fucking going off on Metal Gear, being 30 frames, and then he's like, it's fucking shit. I was being
No,
quite...
I like the first
I was being
two.
quite... No, Lyle!
Oh, sorry. I was
Oh,
going to
that's
say...
boring.
Those two are great.
Wow.
Sorry. I was going to say, because I've literally watched a friend play 3 all the way through, and I kind of like... It's weird. I don't like playing it, but I can certainly sit and watch someone else play it and appreciate it, but I don't like playing Metal Gear 3 at all.
It's one of those games where I'm excited that they're doing a big remake of it, because I want to enjoy that game, but I've played it a billion times, and I just, like, for some reason I couldn't make it work, but could enjoy, like, the PS1 one. So you'd think that, that would be as far back as you'd need to go to be able to feel like you could get to grips, but it just never worked for me. So, yeah.
But in terms of the re-release and remake, what did they do? I mean, if they just bundled the 3 games together and went, there you go, that isn't, I mean, compared to some of the games on this list, if we're just being an outsider's perspective, could it not get cut?
I don't think it would make the top 5. But I think what they did do, yes, they put them all on one. I think it was more for fans, I think, because each game got its own, like, it's a booklet, but in digital form, so you're reading it on the screen. But I'm talking like, if they were released them as individual books for each game, you're looking at a good 100-page book per game, which goes into the characters, it goes into the history behind the script and what was going on in the world at the time that inspired it. It throws in, like, all the Easter eggs that are in the, like, what's been referenced here and there, whether it's games.
I'm looking forward to that for Metal Gear Solid 5's remake. What inspired it all, and there's just a picture of Hideo Kojima with a piece of paper that says "boobies."
Yeah, it was poor. I'm not going to defend Phantom Pain, but
no, the game's, that game's great, but I couldn't watch anyone play it now because
I don't know. I was really disappointed with it. Wow. But, like, I think.
So wait, does that mean Master Collection Volume 2, if it comes next year, it's got everything else, you're going to be like, biggest disappointment?
Oh, God, no, because it's got, the Patriots on it, and that's, like, my favourite.
The one that seems to have never seen the light of day ever again, weirdly.
Crazy. Yeah,
because that also felt like the part that would be the most exciting of this. That, like, that's a game that they basically couldn't port because of, like, the PS3.
Well, to be honest, like, I know it's a bit of a tangent because it's not on the list at all, but I am intrigued just to see how they deal with some of the stuff. Like, do you remember the loading screens or the install screens, which just them having a smoke? Like, I think you'd have to change that.
Like hours
just sitting. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, Chris.
Well, I am honestly, I'm fine with it going. I just think like it's awkward for me because Metal Gear Solid, the original, is like it top game of all time until recently. So I do love it a lot, but again, it is 30. It's not had any enhancements or anything like that. It's just here's the game again, which is cool, and it still does hold up to a point. But it's just the same game. So unless you want to play it and you've never seen them before, great. If you're a fan of the series and you want to delve into all the history and all that, brilliant. Like there's tons of information, really interesting as well. It's got all the soundtracks on. It's got all the screenplays. It's got the two really old shitty kind of 8-bit ones on stuff, which is fine if you want to play them, but you're never going to sit down and play through them. But it's a solid it's a solid collection.
It's super.
But you can quit it. The thing is like fucking Dead Space, which I want to just crack on with.
Okay. Hang on. Sorry, am I cutting Metal Gear Solid Master?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, fine.
He just didn't take a breath and just went on to Dead Space.
Well, we're going to talk about Resi obviously all together, but like Dead Space, from what they did making this, is phenomenal. It's a phenomenal remake because it's very similar in terms of your muscle memory kicks in certain points, but a lot of it I'd forgotten about. And like the way they use like the enemies in this, they're never in the same place. So like say you face off against them and then you die and then you go back and they're not there. And you're like, right, okay. So then you go a bit further and then an enemy that wasn't there before is now there. So you can you never relax. And that's what horror games, survival horror games especially, are supposed to do. You're never supposed to be comfortable because you never know what's coming. And Dead Space, this horror is like with Resi, it's phenomenal, but it's not campy. But Dead Space is quite.
It is
Resident Evil 4. It's
I think you're all right saying that.
Yeah. But not compared to like the original Resis. But I think Dead Space is just really kind of brutal. I think the story and the acting's really good in it. And I think they've put a lot of effort into making it like completely new people.
They gave him more character as well, didn't they?
Yeah,
absolutely.
They gave Isaac Clarke more character in the.
They made him talk.
It's kind of Isaac Clarke from the later games. But but like I maybe I was misreading the room, but I sort of went into this category thinking that was a lock for top 5. Like I
can't be honest.
I moaned about them not like that. I was one of the people who whinged at EA for not. Like we got it. We got it, lads.
I didn't play the Dead Space remake because I'm a big girl's blouse, and but I have watched like most of an entire long play of it over the course because I really like watching people play. Yeah. I like watching people play scary games. I just don't like playing them. But no, and I think I really like that there was more to it. Like I like the fact that they'd added, dimensions to the characters that weren't there before. And it wasn't just like they did probably with the Resi remakes, but maybe even a step further than that because they added stuff that wasn't in it at all, which gave it extra depth and extra character. So I don't know. I'm surprised that you would want to cut that.
I don't know.
I'm not cutting it.
No, I said
right.
The problem here is Chris was talking about cutting a game, and then without taking a breath, is talking about a game he wants to lock, and didn't tell us.
Yeah,
that's what he was doing. That's how I'm reading it now.
I got a bit excited. So I didn't want to
we do need to cut 2 more. So like, we haven't. There's a few obvious ones we haven't talked about, like Resident Evil 4 remake. We'll get to it. That's not going anywhere. We all know that. I'm pretty sure Metroid Prime Remastered's going nowhere, right? I don't want to. But I mean, that's a lot.
Well, I never played it.
Knowing who's on the call, I think it won't.
I think that would be absurd to cut. Look, I'll be completely honest. There's 3 games you could cut here. Easily.
It feels to me, and I feel like there's a top 4, and there's a bottom 3, but that's I might be wrong there.
See, I think there's a bottom 2, and
I think one of them we haven't
I
don't know anything about Star Ocean.
Well, I think there's an issue here at play. Nobody but Lyle's played Star Ocean. Nobody but Chris has played Layers of Fear.
No, I reviewed Layers of Fear 2, so I have some reference, but I don't know what the remake.
Yeah, I played the first game.
I'm happy to listen about Star Ocean because
we probably should.
I will say I really want to play it. Like, it was not on my radar at all, and then I saw a video of it in action, and like, oh god, this is a reason I need that time machine.
Yeah,
I was playing Persona 5
like,
Tactica at the time, wasn't it? I think that was.
Yeah, I think so.
And like, it was like that.
Sort of time,
I don't have any real effect. I've played a few Star Ocean games, but have no real affection for them. I'm not saying I've not enjoyed them, but I've not enjoyed them as much as Persona. So it's like there's only so much JRPG anyone can actually squeeze into their life. So I have not still. It looks great though.
Yeah, I think the thing about Star Ocean, the second story, just to give it its full title before we just call it Star Ocean for the rest of the time, it's like it's a very like impressive remake. Like a lot has been done to it. Like I mean, in terms of modernization, visual wise, like it's massive. It's not just like been upscaled a bit. Like they've basically made it, that 2D HD Octopath style game, and it's really, really impressive.
Triangle strategy look like
full
sort of
new.
thing.
Yeah, it's got full new voice acting. It's got fully new arranged songs. It's been modernized in a few other different ways, and it's a really, really good game. Like I played it originally. I think I played like maybe the PSP version at some point. So it had been remade. I think it had been ported about a few times, but this is like, it's kind of impressive it doesn't feel like this is the amount of effort that would go on Star Ocean. It doesn't feel like this is one of those series where you'd be like, okay, we'll make this like, and the second Star Ocean game as well. Like, I mean, I'll admit as well, I've played quite a few Star Ocean games. I don't really know where all the love is in the series, like who like which of the games is like the fan favorite. But just to come out with this random second game in the series that's a PS1 game and be like, okay, we'll do like a really, really impressive remake of that game, like ground up visual, like all that sort of stuff. And it's like, for me, it was a really, really impressive one. I understand if we cut it because it's just me championing it, but in terms of best remake, for me, it's like it would make a top 5 for me. But again, it depends on what ends up wanting to be cut, because I also think that there are 4 locks, so it would have to be the only one that was kept of the 3 that aren't potential locks.
Are we?
I say that sounds like a cut, doesn't it? Like,
well, I was going to say, are we deadlocked? Are we at the point we need to go around and ask for people to cut a game or not? I don't know.
The only thing I would come back to is that of these games, Chris and Lyle may have only played Star Ocean and Layers of Fear, respectively, or the other way around, but I still don't know if Vampire Survivors Switch should be bumping one of these other games off this list.
I mean, I can speak to that.
Because I think
I know it's brilliant. Don't get me wrong. I know it's really good.
No, but like I didn't like it. I didn't like
it
until I played it on Switch, and then I got it.
Yeah, but why? Like, why did the Switch version make
the Switch version was the first time I played the complete 1.0 version, and they added multiplayer to it as well, which was released simultaneously as the PC multiplayer. But I had not played Vampire Survivors 1.0 until the Switch version came out. That's maybe on me, but I find I couldn't tell you what state that game was in when I played the early access version, but I bounced off it while everyone was raving about it. I tried it on Steam Deck, bounced off it, everyone was raving about it. But some reason when I played it on Switch, I don't know that means it makes the list, but I can't just pretend
that didn't happen.
Yeah, that did happen,
no.
and Lyle happened as well.
It is a murky one. This, like
we
said,
gave it a 10 out of 10. Like,
yeah, no.
Sure. Totally.
Yeah,
and like I fully stand by that 10 out of 10. Like, it's a fantastic game. It's just a game where I can't say, because that was my first time playing it. I didn't try it in early access. I didn't try it on any of the systems. So I can't say if I played it in October when it fully released on and had it on my Steam Deck that I wouldn't have just thought it was a 10 out of 10 and loved it then. Like, the multiplayer I've barely touched as well. So there's another aspect that I can't speak for. I mean, it's a game I really, really love. It's a game that I will never uninstall from my Switch. It's the only game that I will never uninstall from my Switch.
And we must also say, whether or not it feels right that it's here because it's a Switch port, like I say, last year 2 Switch ports were in our top 5 remakes. Like, No Man's Sky was there on merit because it was a remarkable achievement. That game runs at all. Nier Automata, it was there because it's Nier Automata, and we all love Nier Automata. Like, they didn't actually add an awful lot to that for Switch. Like, there was a few bells and whistles I recall. Like, I think there were some controls that were Switch related, but generally speaking, that game was just that game. And again, it was just such a good game. We've never awarded Vampire Survivors anything.
Was Switch the only platform it was?
Yes.
It was released on Extra. Was it already on consoles?
Yeah. It was already on PC and Xbox last year.
Yeah.
And then it launched on Switch. And at the same time that it launched on Switch, they added multiplayer to all the release.
Yes. Yeah. I don't think it's on PlayStation yet, is it? I'm not actually sure.
I don't think so.
Right, so I've got a question, and this isn't me saying it should be cut or anything because I've not played it, but like, I assume Super Mario RPG is a lock from you, Adam. Is it?
I mean,
are you the only one that's played it?
No, Chris has played a bit of it.
Right, okay.
It is for me.
Compared to the others, because obviously on the pod we did in November, we talked about it.
Yeah, I mean,
compared to these others.
For me, there's a couple of reasons. One is that it is a complete remake. And two, it's the first opportunity for anyone in the West, anyone in Europe to actually play it, because it was never released on SNES originally in Europe. So, like, I think that is like, it's a little bit. Don't think I put it in Nicest Surprise category, but it could be because it was one of those Nintendo Direct announcements. You know, where they do it and everyone's just like, what?
Yeah.
And it was one of those. The only reason that I'm not literally like screaming that game's name from the top of every mountain about how amazing it is, because of how advanced it feels for how old it is, 1996, recall, is Sea of Stars ate its lunch. Like, Sea of Stars took every influence it could and bettered it. And I hammered Sea of Stars, and that's why playing Mario RPG afterwards was not a bad experience, but it was not as mind-blowing. Like, I'm not naive. I know that my adoration, and like Lyle gave it a 10 out of 10 for Sea of Stars, that doesn't mean everyone suddenly played it. It hasn't got Mario in the name. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not stupid. The sales won't match up for those two games, regardless of which one I think is better. But Super Mario RPG is a faithful remake. It adds stuff that people complained about from the original way back when, and it is a complete remake, and it's still remarkably modern in so many ways. Like, I've played, like, you know, all the Paper Mario games and that, and like, this still feels like it moves quicker. It's remarkable. A battle can be done in 10 seconds. Like, it's a game that doesn't mess around with time. It's also a JRPG that can be completed in like 10, 12 hours, which is, it's not, you know, it's a lot for me, but like, it's not my top 5. It's ours. So, and there's a bingo card stamp there.
It sounds, from what you've said there, though, that does sound like I'd want to lock that in with the 3 sort of more obvious, you know, the Resident Evil 4, Metroid Prime, Dead Space. Like, it sounds like that is also in that camp, and we got to get rid of 2 of the others. Like, in terms of what you said about it,
is it time for a round robin, do you think? We just...
I mean...
Yeah, we might need to do a bit of voting.
I think we're very close to that. I mean, Chris Hyde, you've been quiet on the 2 that are sort of...
What do you want me to talk about? Which one?
Well, no, more opinion. Like, I suppose, is it time that we...
I mean, I said a little while ago, I think it's a group of 4 and 3, and Lyle just kind of said the same thing. Like,
and they're on the list as we are looking at it as a 4 and 3 now, right?
Yeah, exactly
so.
that.
Yeah.
So, like, I've thought that for a little while for various reasons. I think you're right. So now it's about cutting 2 of the 3 for me.
It's good to give some of the games that are going to get cut as well, like those 3. Perhaps it's good that we've given them a discussion and given them their due. But
it genuinely does feel like 7 strong. Like the fact that we're talking about it's a Switch release of an incredible game, but like they were 5 and 4, and we could be talking about that like being only 7 because of how good the year's been. Like, it's a very good year, I think.
I will say before we get to voting, Layers of Fear is confusing to me. It was confusing to me all year. It was confusing to me to try and understand what that is. I'm still not 100% sure I understand what it is. It was confusing. I do a lot of the site's news, and like every time something would come on that, I was like, I don't understand. I mean, that's on them, because they just called it Layers of Fear. Like, they could call it Layers of Fear.
I hate when games do that, especially because it's like 1 and 2 plus. Right? Why have they called it Layers of Fear when their first game was called Layers of Fear? Like,
do you know, I honestly thought you were just going to say we need to put Lords of the Shadow or whatever is on this list, or what's it called, Lords of the Fallen? I've forgotten the name of the game. That one.
Technically, that was
the same name, but it's not the same game.
No, it wasn't. Oh god, let's not confuse things.
No, No?
I tell you what, though. I mean,
No.
I wouldn't.
Let's vote.
We're not going to get rid of Resident Evil 4, are we?
Oh,
I mean,
for
even
fuck's
I
sake, let's not be
fucking
silly
love that,
now.
and I exactly. So,
Do
yeah,
what
let's
do we do then?
talk, let's
Vote for a cut. Is that what
Let's
we're doing?
vote for a
I
cut.
think I think so.
Yeah.
Or do you want to vote for a lot?
No, because I think
do it that
there's
way.
3 at least that are locked here. Like Dead Space, Metroid, Resi aren't going anywhere, are they? It's a top 5.
I think it's pretty obvious that Vampire Survivors is going to stay. I don't think. I would say. Like,
We haven't voted yet, Chris.
I know I'm ruining this.
Just because you've got Nicolas Cage next powers and you know what's coming.
It's like, fuck it, screw over. Get rid of Star Ocean, Laser Fear. Let's lock it in. Fuck's sake.
Let's
Come on.
delete Metroid Prime. Let's make it entertaining.
Yeah.
Let's do the vote anyway. Like Chris Hyde, you started off. What you cut in from this list of 7 so far?
Laser Fear.
I'm also voting for Layers of Fear. Sorry, Chris White, you?
Star Ocean.
Lyle?
Layers of Fear. Sorry to make Mick's vote a bit redundant here, but
Well, no, it could if he votes. Well, but Nick, what's your vote?
No, I was going to vote for Star Ocean, but it's
That kind of
Probably
proves
doesn't
Chris
even
White's
vote.
point, really.
go then, right?
So it sounds like them 2 are going unless anyone's.
Shock.
Yeah, I mean, unless all 3
like,
of us that voted
So what
for,
I said then.
Laser Fear.
They're like Benny Big Potatoes.
In all
Mate,
fairness, like
it's-
when I was talking about Star Ocean, I was like, "Oh, that sounds quite good."
I will
actually."
say,
Yeah,
watch
no,
a video
I
of it
wanna-
or something, and you'll be like, "Oh,
I
that
want
looks
to give it a
great."
go. Yeah.
Do you know
Yeah,
what?
I think if more people played
I think
it,
if
it'd have
I'd
a
played
decent
this-
chance of getting that 5.
If I'd played this instead of Persona 5 Tactica, I reckon I'd be with Lyle. But I can't talk about a game I haven't played. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
for
we
sure.
can look. So Layers of Fear has been voted off. Do you want to do another round just to prove the point? Because that would
Chris is right.
well, the people who didn't vote for Layers of Fear have got another. Who voted?
I mean,
for
I
Layers
would
of
have
Fear,
voted for
sorry,
Star
have got
Ocean
another
there.
I would
option
then
now.
vote for Star Ocean. So
I will
we
say
could do it.
And
begrudgingly.
I'd have voted for Vampire Survivors, but it wouldn't have mattered, and that would have been it. So yeah,
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Well, wait, would it?
and I'm hardly.
Would it
annoyed.
matter? Because Chris Hyde and myself said Star Ocean. You said Vampire Survivors.
Well, the other 2 voted for Star
I
Ocean
would-
the
I
first
would have
time, so
stuck
I'd
to
like to
Star
think they would
Ocean.
still vote for Star Ocean.
But it's a
So we
different.
go.
I think
Okay,
so.
right, fine. So we are. I think Vampire Survivors is 5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I will say only because Star Ocean was the one off that list that I haven't played or had any real connection to. That it's not because
Yeah.
it's particularly assume it's a bad game or because I dislike Lyle.
oh totally.
No, but to be clear, you do
sometimes good
dislike
stars
Lyle.
Yeah,
Right,
I do
okay.
dislike
Yeah, just
Lyle,
to
but
be
that's not
clear.
why
Yeah,
I'd vote
cool.
this perfectly innocent game
Cool.
off.
Right. So we
We've
have
gotta
5.
bang
The
them
5
into
is
order now.
the 5 is Resident Evil 4 remake, Metroid Prime
Draw a line
remastered,
under that, and we'll carry on.
Dead Space, Super Mario
Let's be
RPG,
honest.
and Vampire Survivors. Which I do think 4 and 5 is correct there. I do think
Yeah,
Vampire Survivors
Mario
is 5th.
RPG was the only other one that had like a close call, I guess. Or
Or is it 5th?
discussed
Is
going,
Mario
but it
RPG
feels-
5th? What's 5th here? For me, it's
I
Vampire
think
Survivors.
Vampire Survivors stays at 5. I think.
I think so too.
Okay.
I think we need to talk about Metroid Prime Remaster. I think we need to discuss where that goes on this
Okay.
list because, from what I know, it's a fantastic remake or remaster, and it was a total surprise, wasn't it? Wasn't it just like a bang?
They literally
Here's-
went, it's out.
It'll be on the next category.
However, that is
Yeah,
not.
there will be talk. Don't worry.
Yes.
But yes, they did. Yeah.
That cannot
Okay.
be considered for best remake because
No,
when
it
it was
can't.
released does
No,
not have any
No, to be fair, that's for
indications.
another category. But the
So, hang on, before we do, are we saying
on.
that Mario RPG is 4th and Vampire Survivors is 5th? Is that
Yes.
that lock in?
I'm happy with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to lock them in, and we can talk about Metroid Prime Remastered.
Do you want me to go?
I think you should.
Well, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like Metroid Prime Remastered. So in terms of what they obviously the baseline is a pretty phenomenal game to start off with in Metroid Prime. I'll just say I think it's the best game on GameCube, which will send ripples through what other game is on this category. But in terms of what was done for the remaster, so it was enhanced audio, visuals, and control schemes. So fairly decent amount in terms of what they did to the game. Adam, I know you have you played both because you had this uncanny ability of playing the base game a year before a remaster's release. So
apparently so, because they also are doing the 1,000-Year Door, which I also replayed on Cube.
So if you want a game remastered, get Adam to play the base game.
Just tell me to play. Well, do you know what I'm going to start doing actually when things calm down? Genuinely, and I promise you, this isn't even bullshit. I'm going to start playing through Metroid Prime 2. Because I want to ensure that gets re-released next year on Switch for everybody else who can't play on old hardware. What they did with Remastered is what fans have done with that game via emulation, right? So we don't talk about that stuff very often, but it's worth noting that they could have just got the fan emulation and done the graphics part. The game as it was on GameCube wouldn't work. Well, no, that's not true. It would work with the Switch because of the motion control capabilities, but it isn't how most people would want to play it in 2023. So they remastered it with the visuals, with the audio, and they modernized it to be modern for FPS.
You could play with the original controls if you wanted to, or you could play with the enhanced controls. I think there was even a hybrid version as well from memory.
Which again, I will say that's what the fans did with the emulation.
Yeah.
And in some ways, that's kind of annoying. But they took so long, and in some ways, it's kind of annoying that they only released one. And imagine the hysteria if it had been a 1 to 3 collection, which is why I'm so sure that they'll do it later. I think you're underselling it, man. I think in many ways,
not that we didn't know it already, but it kind of proves Metroid Prime 4 is not coming next year because they've got to re-release 2 and 3.
It might, but it won't be early. But I think you're kind of underselling. It's not February. I think you're underselling Metroid Prime a little here. I'll say in terms of this list, as people, if you're watching the video, you can see on screen now that the top 2 are currently Resi 4 remake and Metroid Prime. I think they're 2 of the best games of all time.
So to be clear,
So you saying, the original's pretty good? It's I don't know if you were sort of keeping your powder dry or not.
Right, okay. Let me be really clear. Metroid Prime is my favorite game of that generation. My favorite game on that console.
Yeah.
Above Resident Evil 4, which is still a fantastic game. It would be 1 and 2, just the other way around. And Metroid Prime for me is top 5 of all time for me. And you played the original last year, I think. And was oh my god! And I'm yes, I know, because it holds up. The original does hold up. There is a.
I don't know how I missed it because I did have a GameCube.
Yeah,
I don't know how I didn't play it.
Because there is a thing as well, because there's obviously in this category, there's always the argument of is it better of a remake to do it than a remaster because a remake is ground up, and I think there's a lot more work that goes into it. But I think there's always a conversation about whether the original can hold up without it. What does it need to be playable in today's, environment? And
it's also how much you want to change, isn't it? If you don't want to change it, but you just want to bring it forward for people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If I was being brutal, which I think it might come to be honest, yes, I agree with 99% of what you said. There are a few parts of Metroid Prime, and I believe the sequels, from what I've read, that in a modern light are a little unfriendly on a new player. There's stuff in this one where you're it does guide you most of the time, but there are some parts where it doesn't. And that would be really... I think, if you properly remade it, that sort of thing, I don't think you'll see in Metroid Prime 4. And whereas Metroid Resi 4 is a full-on remake. Yeah, I don't think there's a thing in Resident Evil 4 remake you could ask to be done differently. And it's been brutal, but
it's difficult for me because I remember my time because I played it to death on the GameCube, right? And I've also had a gap, so I can't believe it's muscle memory of just going, well, I know where to go, because I didn't. But I didn't have any of the issues. But I remember, I think Matt in our Discord played it and did. So I'm not pretending that it doesn't exist.
It definitely exists. But it's not severe, but it's there. I think that that's games are worse for it,
in fairness to the game, it does also go, put a massive question mark on the map and go, there seems to be some strange activity over here you might want to investigate after a period of time, right? So I think it's actually quite friendly. I agree with you. I don't think that exact mechanic will be adopted in 4. I think they'll find a different way.
It'll be modernised. It will be modernised
to do it. But there is also the Metroidvania element of it as well, which it obviously is the genre that it goes for. But like I know what you're saying, and I can't argue against it because it just wasn't my experience of playing the remaster. But
No,
that's not because the remaster changed anything.
No.
It's because I also think I'm probably more used to those types of games now that I've kind of, finding the keys at the end. Spoilers.
It's kind of your specialty,
but
to
pixel
hunt
it
as well.
literally gives you clues, and I'm like, I connected the dots in seconds. Whereas I remember when I was younger, that took me longer to do. So maybe, I don't know, but I get it. I do get it. I would have locked the order in which we had them here.
I have to say,
but I'm biased.
Pure happenstance, but I would be very happy with that list as it is. Like Dead Space is a tremendous. I'm so happy. Again, like we talked about Ghost Trick, I'm so happy Dead Space got another go. I don't know how it did sales wise. I actually haven't got a clue. I hope it did well.
I bet it did all right.
I
mean, not to throw a spanner in the works, but speaking like I don't know, like Dead Space, the remake as a remake, arguably may have done more than Resident Evil 4 in terms of what it added. I'm saying arguably because Resident Evil 4
No.
But I mean, things like
I haven't played the Dead Space one.
But things like adding
very faithful.
No, but
remake.
things like adding the character to Isaac Clarke, things like the mechanic where
but
things
they did
change,
that with Resi 4 as well.
Scare. Did they do that? Like
not the jump scare stuff, but they added like side quests in Resi 4 and
yeah,
like...
I'm just saying. I think that's really clever. Like what they did with Dead Space. Like that's a way to really like. And like I said, I'm not suggesting a change. I'm just saying.
I think Dead Space is a fantastic remake, and I'm really pleased it exists, and I will finish it one day. But because what they did that I thought was so clever is it felt like they brought, although it was Dead Space 1, and the narrative, the adventure is Dead Space 1, they brought in 2's level of fear and tension and 3's level of characterization. So I think that's quite clever to do so. And I do think, like Chris mentioned the monster closet thing earlier, and it does do that in a way that I think is really unique and interesting. And it's you're always on your toes, because like it just doesn't do. Games don't do what it does. Like you clear an area out, you move on, and you're like, that area's clear. You do that in Dead Space, and you walk back through it, and there's no enemies come out of a pipe again or something or a vent, and it's really unnerving. And visually, because it looks so good, that they just have you on. They're marionetting you like around the world, and I think it's amazing. But what it boils down to for me personally is that I think Resident Evil 4 and Metroid Prime Remastered are better games. Like they're 10 out of 10s, whereas Dead Space is like a 9.5 if you want to go there, but it's not quite. Same as Super Mario RPG is a 9, and like Vampire Survivor as well. I'll give it a 10. I don't think it's like that in terms of a remaster.
It's not quite the same scale though, is it?
Like Resi 4 remake. Like I remember when we went to play it and preview it, it's like this seems faithful yet modern and like. I mean, I'm not. I know I like a lot of Capcom games, but like that engine is ridiculous, and it continues to be ridiculous. What they do with that. I do think,
like, if you asked us to describe what an ideal remake of a game you love would be, you'd be describing what they did to Resident Evil 4.
I'd argue the opposite. I'd almost say if you were asking me what they should do for a Resident Evil 4 remake, I would have gone, don't do it.
No, sorry, you're misunderstanding my point.
I'm agreeing with you. But what I'm saying is if someone had asked me, I'd have said, don't do it. They've done it, and there's not a thing I could...
I see what you mean, yeah.
But I would have genuinely said, don't do it. You were asking for... Not because I don't want it, but you're just going to get murdered. You're just going to get absolutely murdered. This is... Resident Evil 4 is one of those on a plateau with games like Breath of the Wild. Like it is one of those games people talk about in hushed tones in corridors in the futures to come. Do you know what I mean? I would have just said, don't do it. The others are really great, and you've got that faith. People will just piss, and I bet there is. I bet there's people pissed and moaned about it. I don't know, but
yeah, there will be.
Truth is there is not a thing I could not. Even the DLC, which is maybe not part of the game, but just while we're on it. I couldn't. What more could you actually have? What would you change?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, you don't have to convince me either. Obviously, 10 out of 10. Like, it would easily be my number one on this list. It has so many things about it that make it like you say, like they added the whole knife combat thing. They revamped certain sections and certain
parrying.
fights.
Forgot about the parrying.
I think the parrying.
You can parry a chainsaw.
Alongside that, you've even got stuff like you can parry a chainsaw.
I do wish the knives weren't made out of sugar paper, but other than that, that is the only thing.
Yeah,
that's a very gamey thing, though, to complain about.
Of course it is. Yeah,
well, they got to make you spend your gems somehow to upgrade your knife durability and.
Yeah.
Got to sell that next iPhone, haven't they?
I'd even say as well though that they added to the characters as well, like the whole characters in that game that they didn't really do a whole lot of talking. Like they were side characters that were well enough liked, but now have more fleshed out, have totally new scenes
Ashley
in the
original.
Exactly, like Ashley in the original was awful. Yeah, so I mean, I just wanted to.
Well, then I think that
Resident
kind
Evil,
of
as I was going to.
That kind of locks the list where it is. I think then, doesn't it? Like I don't think you could even move Metroid Prime now above Resident Evil 4 remake.
No.
After that, from everybody.
I love Metroid Prime and I love Metroid Prime Remastered, and I'd still put Resident Evil 4 remake at number 1 because
I think that's a lock then.
I just think, like I said, if you were to ask me what would you do to a remake, I would, you're keeping what made that game great, and you're somehow making some of the other bits you didn't even think were that bad amazing, and adding to it, making it more atmospheric and mixing it up a bit to make it feel same but different. It's what you would want.
I think when you can say, oh, hey, somebody remade one of the best games that's ever been made and it's now better.
Yeah.
That's a pretty...
Yes, exactly. I think, yeah.
And I don't think the list changes.
If it ain't changing, which is fine, I do still think Dead Space, for me, is second, but that ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen, which is fine, but Resi 4, hands down, is the best game on this list.
I mean, top Dead Space is number 3 on a list of very, very good games.
I don't know,
right?
because
I just think there's
I think he's right.
They did the whole follow Isaac throughout the game in one continuous run, one continuous motion.
Yeah, it used to have all the.
I think that's what I loved about watching it being played.
And it was the kind of like using the weapons literally tore off skin, bone, and like that level of detail in like when you're firing at the enemies. There's all that as well.
It pains me to say it, but I think you're right. I mean, this isn't best game.
No. This is the thing, right? And it's why I can be like, Metroid Prime's below Resident Evil 4. This is just a more extreme version of it because I've not played Dead Space. I'm not averse to it. I'd have it at number 2 because of my experiences, but I also know from what you guys have said about it, what's happened to Dead Space in the remake. So I get it. Listen, we're arguing between 2 and 3, and I think it's like I can't say any more about Metroid Prime. If that's not going to convince people, then I think we have to go with the majority, don't we? I can see both sides.
Do we vote? We got 1, 4, and 5 locked. Do we vote on what's second? Well, I mean, I know what. So Chris Hyde's vote is for Metroid.
Yeah.
Chris White's vote is for Dead Space. I don't want to be the decider, so I'm just.
Well, you say then.
Fuck, I don't know. I don't want to be the decider, but I don't know.
It's so fine. You'll just ruin friendships.
The thing is, right? I'm so conflicted because I think Metroid Prime Remastered is the better game, but I'm also well aware that they basically took the Wii version, tarted it up, redid the controls, and put it out, and it was amazing because it always was fucking amazing. I just didn't play it back then. It was always amazing. I've never heard anyone say a bad thing about that bloody game ever, and I mean the GameCube game. Mm-hmm. And I love the genre. Like the Metroidvania genre is probably. It would be a toughie, but it's top 3 genres for me. Like probably JRPGs, Metroidvanias, and action adventures. Do you know what I mean? They're probably my like.
What, not a beat 'em up. Sorry, I don't want to.
Well, no, I mean the action adventures. Action adventures are the kind of, like a Bayonetta is like a modern. Oh shit!
Right, hang on.
Ruined that. No, you're right. Our top 4 would include. We need to vote. You two have voted. Lyle, what's your vote for second?
I'm voting Dead. I'm voting Dead Space for second. I think
I think this is a 1 versus 4, but like I don't know. So like you were going, I don't want to make a decided vote. I think if you let other people talk, I don't think you have to.
That's fine. I'm really happy with that.
Yeah.
So Lyle's voted. It's 2-1 to Dead Space. Mick can make it, so I don't have to decide, and I don't even have to give an opinion. Or
I think for
you
number
could be an
2,
absolute. Yeah, go on.
Go on,
for
Mick,
number 2, I think Dead Space should be number 2. I think it adds more, and it is a ground up. I think it deserves the spot more.
I do get the logic. I genuinely do, and it's a phenomenal list, and I get it. You're just all wrong now, it's genuinely fine. I think it's, the top 3's right. And
I just keep looking at it, and there's like, but I think it's right. I think it's right by us.
Right.
I think it's right for us as well. Yeah. I genuinely do think that's true.
I feel a bit of a hypocrite if I don't laud Dead Space, because as I say, I played all of them. I even reviewed 3. I was one of the weird ones that liked 3. I think I gave it an 8 out of 10 all those years ago on 360. I genuinely was like, we're never going to... It's gone. They told everyone how shit the sales were. They told everyone. They blamed everybody else, and it's gone. It's dead. So I feel a bit of a hypocrite if I was... So I'm pleased. And like, let's be honest, Metroid 4 is going to come and be awesome, and I'm fine with that. I'm going to read them out, unless anyone's got anything else to say.
Nope.
Best re-release or remake for 2023. In 5th place, Vampire Survivors on Switch. 4th place, Super Mario RPG. 3rd place, Metroid Prime Remastered. 2nd place, Dead Space. And the best re-release or remake, which will shock no one, let's be honest, is Resident Evil 4 Remake.
It's a good list.
1 category, 1 out.
That's a good list, guys.
So there we go. It's time for Nicest Surprise, the 2nd category of day 2. Last year's winner, and it really pleases me to say this because, like, it was a nice surprise. It was a great game. Tinykin. Fantastic game.
Yeah.
Fantastic game, yeah.
But also, I have to say...
It was like years ago.
Evil West, 2nd.
Oh, Evil West was
That was a great game. Pokemon Legends Arceus, great game. The Dio Field Chronicle, great game. I can't remember Islets. Yes, I can. What a great... That was Metroidvania.
Islets was a little
Metroidvania.
Metroidvania.
Game.
That was great.
Yeah,
the whole moving world stuff. That was
Good
great.
God. But this year's list, the shortlist for Nicest Surprise is Metroid Prime Remastered, Layers of Fear, WWE 2K23, Hi-Fi Rush, Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon, Minecraft Legends, Street Fighter 6, Paranormasight, RoboCop Rogue City, Showgunners, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Dave the Diver, Pikmin 4, Remnant 2, WarioWare Move It, Super Mario Wonder, Persona 5 Tactica, The Last Faith, and Subpar Pool. I can offer a real quick cut here, and I can. It might be controversial, but I can just. We're an hour into the Gigag Gotties 2023, so the time for sitting on our bottoms is long in the past.
Is high. Let's do it. What are you offering?
Pikmin 4.
Oh, not where I thought you were going. Okay. No, okay, I agree with you though. For this category,
I could probably say, right, Chris, tell people why I think this is not a nice surprise. I bet you could guess.
Because we knew it was coming.
You knew what you knew.
No,
no, but it's not. It's not like Pikmin 4.
We knew it was going to be good.
Blood and guts on it, is it? Like, it's a known quantity, and I know that Pikmin 4 has done some stuff. But were you really?
And I think it's that it was. I also think it's that it was like Nintendo don't really release bad games at the moment, do they? I think that's where Adam was going.
Oh. I don't
but
think
also
there's any
no
part
Chainsaws
of
and Bloods and Guts in Pikmin 4. Sorry, to spoiler.
I just don't think there's any part that I was surprised it was good. I could say it was surprised it was as good as it is, and it was a 30-hour opus that I 100%ed. But I like Pikmin 1, 2, and 3. So...
No, I agree. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's where you go first, but I
just thought it was easy
in this category.
And like I will just also say, before we do finally cut it, go play the demo of Pikmin 4. It's available as a demo. Go play it. It's a lovely game. You'll love it.
Good demo.
buy Pikmin 4. It's wonderful.
It's a good demo.
Well, that's me
Can
done
I
for the
offer
evening.
I've got another controversial one for you.
Okay.
I don't think I was surprised in any way by anything that Star Wars Jedi Survivor did.
I don't know who put this on the list, but I didn't want to cut it. But I don't know why it's there.
Because it was good. I really, really liked it. I know there's mixed feelings about it across the team, but I don't think it was the nicest surprise.
Shade on this bastard. The shade already. I really like this game. For anyone,
Doing future conversations.
I don't know who put on the list. I thought maybe Chris White might have put it on the list.
No.
But I don't.
It's not I.
I don't think I put it on the list, but now everyone else has said they haven't. I would cut it. Like I
would cut it from
like
best,
I didn't play the
surprise.
original, but I can't use that as a reason to say it was
was
really
shocked by
surprising
this.
because I
Didn't
did.
have
That
Jedi
was
in
my
it.
fault, not because the game did something like amazing in comparison.
So who did put it on the list?
I don't know.
Was it me?
I'm
Lyle.
blaming Lyle. I think Lyle did it to be a bastard.
I don't remember doing it, but that I'm old now, so who knows?
You were probably drunk.
Adam, did you mean to put it on biggest disappointment below?
Let's
Now
not.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
No one knows who put it on the list.
None of us think it should have been on the list to start with.
That's a good point.
I tell you, is WWE 2K23 on the list because it wasn't shit this time? Like, because they've had like a run of shit, haven't they?
Chris is like, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I didn't add it, but I agree with it.
Did I just sleep add a load of games?
point.
I wonder if the shock was just that this one.
Yeah.
He just fell asleep on the keyboard and spontaneously typed a bunch of game titles into.
So is that gone as
I
well?
don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
WWE 2K23. Well, I'm asking Chris because I don't. No one
well,
knows.
I didn't put it on, and it was surprising that it wasn't shit.
It was
Because
Hang on,
It's
hang
a
on.
low bar.
Did you put Layers of Fear on?
You must
No,
have.
I didn't.
I was
Not Layers of
surprised
Fear.
Layers of Fear was on here as well. If I'm honest.
Yeah, I thought that was an odd one.
No, all I added today was Minecraft Legends.
This is my favourite category.
Oh well, Layers of Fear and that can go then. I think.
The
Got
nicest
it.
surprise is all these games that appeared on the nicest surprise list.
It's a big surprise.
So surprised.
Fun games. All.
Cutting, we're making so much progress here, lads. We should do this more often. Just put games on there that no one thinks are there. We're just cutting like fucking madmen. It's great. What are we up to now? How many we got?
A lot.
Okay.
When
Well,
did
I'll
Super
propose
Mario
another
Wonder
cut.
get announced?
Late.
That was this year.
Yeah,
It was announced this year. It wasn't like Shadow Drop, but it was like a couple of months, wasn't it? Or something.
Quite late.
Something like
I
that.
could propose a cut that either me or Adam probably put on the list, which is Shogunners.
Yeah, that's you.
Yeah, which was good, and but I don't know. I don't remember putting it on the list either. I must have because it's only me.
I
And
can
Adam
only
that played-
apologise. I can only
It-
apologise.
It's
if I
only
put
me
all
and
you on
Adam
the
that
list.
played Shogunners, and I think I really liked it. I'm sure Adam really
Yeah, it's
enjoyed what he played of it. I dropped off it because, well, I reviewed it, and when I was done, because there was so much else coming. So I can't say that it particularly stuck with me. But
It was a nice redemption arc for them.
Yeah, they changed the name, didn't they? It
Yeah,
was
now I'm
Homicidal
trying to remember what it
All-Stars.
was. What was it? Homicide?
Homicidal All Stars.
Right, and they came back with this and...
Well, but the weird thing is, they came back calling it Shogunners, but all the art, even in the games, because the show that the
It's
game was
called
based
Homicidal,
on, which
yeah.
was like a Running Man
Horrendous
style.
name.
It was like a Running Man style game show where you went in and then you either died or you got to the next level, basically. And then it was called Homicidal All Stars in the game. So they changed it to Shogunners, but then all the art all still said Homicidal All Stars. And I think they massively fucked themselves by just not coming up with a better name. Even Shogunners isn't a great name.
No, it ain't. It's not.
I think
it's not.
they really messed themselves up by, because there's a lot in a title. Like, we've had a lot of games where we've discussed the titles before, but it was good, but I don't think it was it wasn't the nicest surprise of the year. It was a good game. I don't think we'll probably discuss it again either now.
No.
Because it wasn't superb, but it was good. It's a good tactics game. And if you're into tactics game, I will give it a shout out and say that if you like turn-based tactics games like your XComs and things like that, it's definitely worth checking out because it is a good game. But I think you can knock it off the Nicest Surprise list.
Yeah, I think I have a similar cut for sort of a similar reason, where it's me cutting pretty much one of my own. But I think Subpar Pool was a game that I basically wanted to be able to give a shout out to.
Yeah.
I think that game's phenomenal. I don't think I was able to talk about it on a podcast because I missed that week or something. It was something that, and it really did surprise me, this sort of like blend of pool and golf and a roguelike, and it's just like all those things together. It's like a seriously compelling game. It was one I could not put down. It's really interesting.
It's also been a very, very long time since we had a mobile. I know you played it on Steam or Switch? Steam.
I played on Steam Deck.
It's been a long time since we had a game that is also available on mobile phone. But the only thing I would say is that I know it's not a surprise for me because I have followed that developer for a while. Like Rim Capsule is phenomenal. Like the developer has a history of making absolutely killer mobile games. So it's no surprise to me that it's very different to like Rim Capsule or something. But
it is killer.
Oh, it's superb.
Killer.
Like, it's superb.
But yeah, just doesn't quite fit the list.
But I'm glad you put it on there. I will say, I'm
Yeah.
glad to see it getting, because again, I don't think it's going to come up anywhere else.
No, I don't think so either.
Chris White,
Yeah.
you said you added Minecraft Legends to this list.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate, please?
From
sir?
Yes, I would gladly do so.
Gracious.
So Minecraft as a game is obviously it's fantastic, but I don't play it anymore. I haven't played it for a while. My kids still play it. I dabble every now and again, whatever. When there was that showcase that delved into Minecraft, it was like earlier in the year where they showed off Minecraft Legends and a couple of other games. I think it was the one with Hi-Fi Rush where it like kind of shadow dropped. But everything else that Xbox were doing at that point was just wasn't really interested. And that was one game where I was like, meh, looks all right, but I don't see how that's going to work. And then when you play it, I mean, you played it, Adam. I'm fairly sure we talked about the fact that you liked it as well.
Yeah.
I think it was just quite surprising the fact that I spent a long time with that game I was reviewing it, but I think even if I wasn't, I would have done because it was very kind of addictive kind of gameplay. And I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did after watching that showcase and just being a bit like, it looks just, I don't know. I think as much as Minecraft, what was the other game? The Diablo-esque, which wasn't bad.
Mick,
Dungeons.
Minecraft
Dungeons. I didn't think that was very.
Yeah, which wasn't terrible, but it didn't really captivate you. And like,
it's good now, by the way. I should just to defend that game a bit.
Yeah,
like,
my kids play it, and
really
I've played
now.
it a little bit.
Like they've almost doubled the game size in terms of and of course it's all Game Pass, so it's all there. It's actually really good now, really good. But when it came out, it was a bit bare bones.
I couldn't get into Legends though, but then I'm not a Minecraft fan either, like in general.
I think Legends is a really weird game, which is kind of cool.
But I don't know. It was Minecrafty, like it's the same argument I had with Dungeons.
Dungeons is more Minecrafty than this is.
Yeah, but even that is kind of Minecraft skin on a pretty average action RPG.
I do wonder what they're gonna do, because like they bought Microsoft. They're gonna do stuff with it. Like, you think we'll get? I don't know what's left to do. Minecraft Fighters, you know what I mean? A 2D side on.
This is it.
Beat 'em up, or like an
Warhammer 40k Minecraft.
Kinda, but like I don't know what. I don't know. It's a nice game,
honestly. But like when you look at Surprise, that encapsulates how I see what a surprise is. It looks shit. Oh, actually, it's not shit.
I didn't think it looked shit though.
Well, I just all right, not shit, just not my cup of tea. As much as I love them kind of games, I was just like, it's Minecraft. That visual doesn't work in anything.
Would it make your top
Minecraft.
5 on this list of these games currently?
Oh, absolutely not.
Really? Oh, right.
In it then.
No, but it's
Bye-bye.
It's a surprise.
No, you said you fucking. No, it's got to go in it.
Yeah.
So
there's a late edition. Oh, go on. No.
I was just going to remind people listening, because I've not put the list on screen. It's just going to quickly run down it, because it was a big list. We're down to Metroid Prime Remastered, Hi-Fi Rush, Bayonetta Origins, Street Fighter 6, Paranormal Sight, Robocop Rogue City, Dave the Diver, Remnant 2, WarioWare Move It, Super Mario Wonder, Persona 5 Tactica, and The Last Faith. I've got to get 5, just to remind me.
Yeah. I think I added The Last Faith recently because it's just come out.
I thought I added that one.
No, that was me.
I thought Chris added that one.
I was going to add it if it wasn't on the list.
Yeah, or maybe I went to add it and you already had. Look, but I definitely was. Someone
I'll
added it.
I'll fucking say it. It's this year's Islets.
Yeah, it's a very good.
It's a Metroidvania that came out late, snuck onto a radio.
What I loved about it was that I went into it thinking it was something that it wasn't. Yes. I thought it was going to be another 2D Souls-like, but this time with Bloodborne.
Assault and Sanctuary is what I was thinking.
Yeah, yeah.
But with blasphemous art style.
It's actually a much closer.
Oh, it's a Metroidvania.
To a Metroidvania.
It's much more.
It felt like, for a lot of it, and I will say it has got its issues. I gave it a 9. I love it. But I didn't have a couple of the issues that other people had because I think I went a different way. Like, I don't want to spoil the game too much, but I know there was, and I've read since other people have had the same issue where they hit that ice area early, and it's like you're not meant to go there, but the game makes you think you're meant to go there. But because I bought those fucking gloves because I just had the money at the time, I didn't even twig that I was going down a different path. So, like, I get that there was some issues with pacing there that some people stumbled on, which I didn't. But it was, for me, I was just like, this is the closest I've felt to a new Castlevania since I played Bloodstained, which to me is a big deal because the Castlevania games are.
I also think it takes
royalty for me
from the Souls genre. But for
it just
fucking
enough,
once,
I think.
No, that's what I mean. For once, a developer went and took the good bits that don't piss you off,
and
finally
molded it into the Metroidvania in a way that makes sense and flows.
Like by the end of this game,
like
I was over-leveled.
The Soul stuff. It was just like, can we make this work? Yes, we can, and so we'll take the bits that work. And I'll be really clear. I don't want it to cut at all. Like, this is in my top 5.
I don't want it cut yet. I don't want it cut yet.
But my top 5. So
that's fair, because I'm sure if I didn't add it, I was gonna. So I'm happy to keep it on the list if that's the consensus. I've
had some time to think more about this game recently. Like, it's malleable in a way that these games. When you talk about Souls games, let's just talk about the Souls part of it. It's malleable in a way that these games are never malleable. Like, by the end of this game, I was overpowered, not by design, by my choice. I was really enjoying
getting grind like a proper.
But it's not even. It's not even. I wouldn't even call it a grind, really. Like, you could just run through one area, and you'll have enough to get 4 levels.
There are so many things to find as well. Like, there's so many reasons to go down.
It's a proper Metroidvania,
and I love that as well because like there's like so many.
There's so many traversal powers in it. Like, there's a lot of traversal.
There's so many optional bits, so many build bits. Like I say, it's the best. Like you said, Adam, it's the best bits of Souls. The best bits of Metroidvania, I can't stop playing it.
It just, I don't know, maybe just for once someone took the idea, because let's boil this right down to brass tacks. Souls games are called Souls games because of popularity, not because of mechanics. A lot of what they were doing has been done before, but not as a collective. Like, they brought it all together. And they have replaced one of my favourite genres because they kind of kicked the Bayonettas, the Devil May Cry's up the arse, and now everyone wants Souls mechanics. But not every game that's challenging has to be, like, obnoxiously hateful to the player. And this game doesn't do that.
About The Last Faith, because, some of it is challenging. Some of the areas, if you go to certain areas early in the game, you'll get your ass kicked, but you've got the option to go to other places. But what I appreciated about this was that it felt like you said, they've taken the elements, like the leveling up is very Soulsy, like how you level up, like the weapon scaling, very From Software.
But again, I'm not even sure they did that first. All you're talking about there is a menu where you press right to make it go up a level, spending currency. I can't.
But I mean, like, particularly the weapon scaling, like the weapon scaling by dexterity.
But I don't think you even have to pay an awful lot of attention to that. If I'm honest,
maybe
you can.
You can. And this is what I mean. Like, you can min max You can,
but you
grind.
don't have to.
You
at
can.
all.
You don't have
do
to.
that.
You can
But
play.
you don't have to because,
persevere.
and this is the difference because Dark Souls and all that came after it. I know Demon Souls was first, whatever. But like, you kind of have to learn the min-maxing stuff to give yourself a fighting chance. In this game, it's more like you can make your favorite weapon work. Like you can,
because you and I used the same sword, right?
Work.
Yeah, because I used the axe, and and it was brilliant. And then I
Chris
couldn't get on with a whip until I watched somebody play with a whip.
The whip's awesome, but I wish I found it earlier.
Yeah,
Chris and I played with the same. What's it called? Ethereal blade or something?
Oh, I've changed mine.
You have changed. Okay, but what I'm saying is we both used that for a long stretch.
Yeah.
But I'm a strength build and you were not. So like that proved. Listen, we will. Let's keep this for now. Definitely.
I'm not cutting it down. Not a chance.
Fair enough. I thought I would be the only one that wanted to keep it.
Matt, and honestly, we talked about it in a podcast in November 538 or 539, I forget which. Genuinely, if they patched in something to tweak it so you cannot get to that ice area earlier, I think we'd be talking about this as like one of my favourite games of the year. And I'm not even sure, with days away from that, I'm not even sure if it isn't still. So let's hold that for now.
Yeah, fair enough.
There's nothing else on there that Hi-Fi Rush has to be on here, right?
You know what? I can't believe that was 2023. I'm sorry. I cannot believe that was this year. I know it was early. I know it was like one of the first big drops of the year, but
I fell off it. But are we keeping it on the list because we think it's an amazing surprise and a great game, or just because we're like, oh my god, Microsoft did a shadow drop of a Bethesda?
You know what? It was a big surprise. It's a strong game. I dropped off it halfway through. I'll be honest. I
dropped off it once they introduced parries.
Going back. So I don't know about it being a best game, but it was definitely a nice surprise. Because when I started playing it after they released it, I was in love with it for the first half of the game.
Same.
It's difficult for me because I haven't played it because I've had to prioritize other stuff, and I haven't played it because you guys said that you dropped off it. So I'm like, okay, right, fair enough. I'll make my choices. I do think there was definitely a flurry of excitement when it was announced. That's undeniable. There was oh my god, Hi-Fi Rush.
That's because of who it is.
Yeah, but like, I also have heard once the initial oh my god this game, a lot of people I think have gone actually doesn't sustain that level throughout. Not everybody, because I know some people do really love it, but I have heard from a lot of people that whole started amazing, wow, drop off. So technically that is surprising because surprising is very instant, but like I guess there's that for me is like
there's also the thing that like Microsoft, they don't release a lot of games. Like they
They certainly didn't then.
This was depressing. That's what locks it in, though.
I know.
Like,
I wouldn't say this is a lot.
We know Nintendo are good, so Mario Wonder doesn't get locked in because do you know what I mean?
No, but the point is that you don't necessarily expect for Microsoft to just do that. Like Nintendo, like their shadow drops occasionally. You know what I mean? They'll do that, but it's not a thing that you expect Microsoft to do. You don't expect to watch a Microsoft showcase or event and then to just go, oh, by the way, this game's out now and it's fucking great. So I do think that has merit for keeping it on the list, but I'm not sure it's top 5 of the games on this list.
I can offer 2 cuts. Chris, how do you before I do, Chris White, how do you feel about Hi-Fi Rush?
I think every point is valid, if I'm honest. Like, I played through it because I reviewed it.
Yes.
So I had to play. I didn't have to play for it, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. You still enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it, but Chris was right. You get to a point where you're like, oh, yeah.
It was when
maybe
they had the
too many mechanics. I felt like they started to add too much to it.
Yeah,
that annoyed me because they had said...
simple.
Well, they had said about how accessible it is now. You can play your way and you can be off the beat if you want. And then they had this parry thing. It's like,
which is very strict.
If I put it on easy and turn off that, I can do. But it's a good game. It is a good game.
I'd like to see what other games deserve to be on the list from everyone before we cut it.
Let me offer the 2 up then. These are 2 games I love. So this is how serious I am about moving the list on. I propose that we cut WarioWare Move It and Persona 5 Tactica.
Knew one of them was going to be one of them.
Well, they're both. I love them both.
Yeah.
To be clear, like WarioWare Move It. I'm the only one who's played it.
Yeah, you go first.
No, it's fine. You please, because change my mind basically, so I can.
Okay.
I don't want them to go.
So for me, Persona 5 Tactica, what was so surprising about it? I mean, I think it was announced this year, so we've got that. We got that element, I suppose, that you can add to it. But for me, it was more like there's been a lot of Persona spin-off games, and they're all very high quality. But I don't think any of them are anywhere near as high quality as Persona 5 Tactica. I think it does some really interesting things with the tactics genre. I don't think it's like any other tactics game.
Have you played Strikers? Sorry to just checking.
I have played Strikers, yeah.
Because I think them two are quite close in terms of how you are surprised by, like, oh, this is... Because, like, Strikers, I remember being like, well, this would be a Musu, I won't like it. And it's like, oh, no, it's a Musu, but it's really Persona. And this is like...
Yeah.
This is like a tactics game, but it's really Persona. So, like, I feel the effect had less surprise for me because after... It's kind of like once I like a Musu game, all bets are off, you know?
I mean, that's very true, especially for you. I fully agreed there. Yeah, and I can understand that. I mean, yeah, it was for me. It was that it was like, it not only was it unlike other tactics games, but it was very, very Persona, and it was, I think, the highest quality of a Persona spin-off. It doesn't feel like it's like, this is a spin-off game, so now I'm really sad that Persona 6 isn't here because they're just releasing all these spin-offs. Like, this felt like a good enough spin-off that I was like, hell yeah, more of this is fine, actually. I understand that in this...
And do Persona 4 Tactica, Persona 3 Tactica. Like, they could.
Do them all. Yeah. They could. But at the same time, I do understand that in this category, it's like, there's a lot of competition here. There are games I'd fight a little harder for that I think might still end up getting cut.
I think that's where I'm at. That's why I suggested it, because it's like, I love this game.
Yeah. I'm not saying anything about it being a bad game. And it was a surprise to me. I wasn't expecting the level of just all the different mechanics, how it all works. Like, I thought this was going to be, you know, triangle strategy with a Persona skin. I just thought it was going to be that sort of like as standard a tactics game. Not that it's bad, but like as like by the numbers a tactics game as you can get with a Persona skin. And I think it's quite a bit more than that. And yeah, really liked it. I do think it's probably a cut. It'd be in my top 5, but it wouldn't be in my top 3. And I think if other people also wouldn't back it, it's hard to say it sticks around, you know?
And with that in mind, shit.
Yeah, for WarioWare Move It as well, it feels like there were 2 Nintendo surprise announced this and released it, and they were good. And if one of those 2 is sticking around, it's wonder, right?
Well, technically, isn't there 3? Because we haven't. I'm not going to add it, but Super Mario RPG.
And Metroid Prime
Metroid
Prime.
I'm not going to add Mario RPG.
Shadow dropped and released on the day.
But like WarioWare Move It is, to all intents and purposes, Smooth Moves 2. Right, that's and that was one of the ones everyone loved on Wii. But I fear it's also in that category of I'm the only person that's played it. So it's sort of by default. I mean, every other game on this list has got multiple people who played it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I
was just going down the list. I was like, "Yep, you're right."
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about RoboCop, but all the others definitely.
Yeah, I played a bit of RoboCop. Yeah. So I think those 2 are gone, aren't they?
How many are we at now? What's that?
That's about 10 or 9, isn't it?
God.
I mean, we can talk about RoboCop next if you want, because I obviously I don't think RoboCop's going to make the list because, again, I played it all the way.
In any other year,
I haven't played.
Yeah, there we go. Have a drink. There we go.
Actually, to be fair, in any other year, probably still, I don't know
it
whether
might be just outside
top 5
in any other year, maybe.
But I do think that the biggest surprise, and I don't like saying things like this, but the biggest surprise was that it wasn't shit. And that's the truth.
I do know what you mean.
I didn't know it was coming until like I don't even was it announced this year?
No, it's been coming. So listen, these are the people that made the. I think Chris White, you reviewed this. What was the Terminator game?
Oh, I reviewed it.
You reviewed that. So they made this, and I think they were. That was no. But that was decent. Like that was what you. That was the definition of what you said. This is okay to decent.
Yeah.
But I think they learnt from that to make this.
What they did the best thing they could have done with this is what they did, and that was make it like the 80s RoboCop movie. That's what they did. They didn't say let's modernize it, let's bring it up to date. No, they went. This is 19 whatever. I think it's still set in 20.
Yeah, but like the cop that. He's an asshole. He's sexist. He's
and you still got the old like CRT monitors and all that stuff that says everything was 80s. The old car, punks, all that stuff. But at the same time, like they also bolted on a really, really competent first-person shooter, and it does the kind of stuff that first-person shooters also like quite often get maligned for, like, you know, identikit bad guys. Every second bad guy looks the same. You know, they do that sort of thing. I think it was a little bit buggy in places, but it had some really cool stuff in it that they didn't have to add, like when you could go out into the city and like just give fucking parking tickets.
Well, I was going to say that there's
the guys
almost
doing graffiti and stuff.
I think some of that stuff very close. I looked at our moment of day. I can't remember what day it is. Day 4? We do moment of the year. Day 4, let's say.
Yeah.
Let's just say it is. If it isn't, you'll know by the time these are all out. Anyway, there was a couple of RoboCop moments that I nearly added, but the list is so.
Yeah, I nearly did as well.
So bloody long that I was like, there's just no point. Like, I really, I'm going to mention it here because I do think it's getting cut, and I want to give it a little bit of juice. There's a couple of moments earlier in that game that I think are fucking fantastic in terms of world building, theme setting, RoboCop 1980s-ing. First of all, you do a mission at the start. It's a mission. It's really gratuitous. You're shooting people's heads off, blah, blah, blah. Then you go back to the precinct and you're bollocked and he takes his hat off and everything, and it's all RoboCop-y. And then you think, okay, I know what I'm doing. I get it. I get what this game is. It's kind of a bit like a Fallout 3, modernised a bit, that kind of thing. And then they go like, hey, Murphy, can you do me a favour? I need some help here. I've got this queue of people at the police precinct. And so then you stand at a plinth as people come up to you and give you their problems, and you choose basically do front desk service. You choose the replies, and it's like you get oh shit, what's the phrase, Mick? You know, from RoboCop, like
it's protect the innocent. It breaks them down into points, doesn't it?
And what's
serve
the
the public trust.
That's it. That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was like
uphold the law, protect the innocent,
uphold
serve
the
the
law.
public trust. You get these choices to do one of the three. Suppose you do all of them. That's the whole point. But you get to choose.
I just thought it was silly and clever. And then after that, you go out into a sort of open world, don't you? And Mick said it. You get to get a parking ticket. You just find a car and you scan it and you just give them a parking ticket. And it's like, this is so stupid. I've just been blowing punks' heads off like gratuitously. And then I found a graffiti artist and he'd done a runner and I found him in a bin and I kind of gave him a lecture and it's like upholding the public trust. And I'm like, that's me. And it's like really silly, but
it's
unexpected.
A game that somebody made with a lot of reverence, and that's what I really liked about it. It was a game they didn't take the piss out of it. They didn't try and modernize it. And I don't want to get attacked for this, but they didn't force modern stuff into it.
No.
When I say modern stuff, very generally, without going into details.
No need to go anymore.
But I think they did a very good job.
The problem for me mainly is that by being so faithful, I found it a bit unfun because he's clunky and robotic, because that's what he is, and that's what he was.
See, I said that in the review, and a lot of people came at me and went, "What do you expect from a RoboCop game?"
No,
I thought, it still feels really chunky. And
I don't know how they could have done that better. If they made it like Titanfall, it would not have made sense.
This is the thing; they did a very good job of it, but they did a too good a job of it.
It's a nice surprise. It is, but it's.
You can cut it. I do believe you can cut it, but it was worth talking about.
Definitely. Ooh, blimey! There's some juicy video games on this list. Someone else now. Someone else has to. I cut two of my own. Someone else pick something.
What is Paranormal Site? Let's talk about that.
It's a cut is what it is. But go on, Lyle.
Probably. I mean,
in case you were pitching it for a lock, Lyle, it's a fucking.
This is a hard category because I'm trying to figure out what my top 5 is and what I'm going to defend, and there's like 7 games on it, so I don't really know.
Yeah, my 5's got 6 in it, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So Paranormal Site it's like a visual novel, detective-y sort of game with a lot of supernatural elements and a fantastic story. And a lot of amazing, totally off-the-wall moments, like mechanically wild moments on how you progress in this game that will 100% be coming up in categories, again, like best story and best moment in the future. I think it's surprising that this game is like as ridiculously good as it is, and just like how it plays out is surprising. Like I wasn't expecting a game, like when I saw this game, I don't think I had any idea it was even coming, and that might just be me being off my radar, but I literally knew nothing about it. looked into it a bit and was like, yeah, it seems kind of cool, and then played it and was like, it was like this mind blown, like, what the fuck is this game? This is amazing. Like, it was definitely a nice surprise, but I mean, it's just a nice surprise in that it's like a really good game and a really inventive game, and there's not as much about it that's like,
it's fucking Ghost Trick.
Yeah,
it's
like,
fucking Ghost Trick.
It is Ghost Trick. It's Ace Attorney. It's those sorts of games where they're like,
no, but I mean,
the
like
visual
in the
novels that are that good that people.
we're gonna cut it, aren't we?
You're saying,
But
we did, yeah. But damn,
I can't,
what a
no,
game!
there's no end to that sentence to me. They were going to cut it, but it was a long time ago. That was like must have been January, February, I'm sure, right?
It was early in the year, for sure.
And one of them moments that we will, again, no spoilers yet, but when we get to day 4, one of them moments is still. I was just thinking about it as you were talking. So fucking cool. I have not seen shit like that since Metal Gear 1. Like, it is that weird.
Yeah.
But we got to cut something.
We are. Yeah, and I also think if everyone on the call had played it and was surprised by how good it was, it would maybe be something I'd try and push a little harder. But with 2 people playing it, I think the places you push it are best story, best moments, and you just kind of go, it's a year where this is a fucking nightmare.
In any other year.
Trim down.
Yeah.
In any other year.
Am I cutting it, Lyle?
Do you know why I'm tipping my sippy cup drink? For people that are actually watching the video, I just literally tipped it when the whole point is it's got a straw. That's the kind of thing that leads to accidents.
Definitely gin. Are we cutting Paranormal Sight?
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm happy to cut it. I haven't played it, won't play it. That's it.
Doesn't give a shit. Just always here.
I only did that for Adam's benefit.
Three more to go.
God.
Let's get rid of one. Let's keep this going. And let's get rid of
Hi-Fi Rush
2.
Oh,
okay.
Which?
Oh,
What?
God.
What happened there?
What? Apparently, we're getting rid of Hi-Fi Rush 2.
Wow.
Lyle said Remnant 2, and I
Hi-Fi
ignored him for now.
just gone.
Look, you know my feelings on Remnant 2. Well, you know the listeners
by now.
You do. I don't.
It's high up on my personal stuff, but
I
surprise.
wouldn't cut that yet.
Well, I think it's a surprise because nobody had heard of the game before.
Nobody had ever played the first game.
If someone had told me Remnant was good,
No one knew
from
what
the Ashes
Remnant
and I
was
played
good.
it.
Remnant
No.
from the Ashes was good, right?
No one knew what it was.
Well, why didn't
no
someone
one
tell
played
me?
it for the site. No one championed it. So
Yeah.
no one knew what to
No one
expect
ever
from the sequel.
reviewed it.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Someone reviewed
Hang
it.
on, Chris Wright's putting his hand up.
He reviewed it.
I did review it on Switch.
Yeah.
And
I don't think you did,
Gary
mate. I think
Bailey
I'd-
No, that
reviewed
doesn't
it
sound
with the
right. I'm
original
pretty
No, I-
certain
I think I'd remember
we
it
had
something.
no inclination or indication
I-
of how good Remnant from the Ashes was.
As far as I'm aware, this is just some weird game that they just called it 2, even though the
Put a
fight had
2
been
on,
new
yeah.
IP. Why? You know,
Yeah.
it was-
100%.
Yeah, I did play Remnant.
You
from
didn't,
the Ashes,
Mick.
But I played it
It didn't,
right
it
before
didn't
Remnant.
exist.
You
No
didn't
one
play it.
told us it was good.
join in on the joke. Don't be a Scrooge.
Yeah.
Okay, nobody
Yeah.
told me it was good, and it was good. And then Remnant 2 came out, and it was fucking better. And I tell you what, look, it's going to come up, I guess, more or less a couple of times.
Are you about to suggest cutting Remnant 2?
But no, I'm
walked
fucking
off.
not. That's my whole point. I'm not. I don't want to cut Remnant 2 because I do think that look, I don't think anybody, and I obviously played it
No,
pre-release.
you're right.
We played it pre-release. We were playing it, before. What? I really don't know what this joke is, so I cannot play.
No,
along.
what I've realised is that the four of
I
us,
just don't get what you keep
four of
saying.
us came up with this joke, and I think you might have been having a slash.
You weren't here.
So I think this has backfired in a tremendous
So I'm just
manner.
like, what the fuck are
Yeah,
they
no, it's
talking about?
backfired.
Why am I supposed to be?
It's backfired tremendously.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just don't. I think it was one of the biggest and nicest surprises of the year because
Can we be real? Like, just look, there's 8 games I think on this list.
Yeah, there is.
I'm gonna. Like, I love Remnant 2, and it's in my top 10 of the year. And I'll say no more than that. I'm not surprised it's good. Like, we previewed it; it was great. The being real, the original was really good. I'm not surprised this was good at all.
You know what?
I just think it's a fantastic game
it's
that I was
interesting.
glad was fantastic.
I'm not surprised. Surprised it's as good. Like if you because I did this because I'm egotistical. If you go back and watch our most anticipated from last year, we could not have spent less time on Remnant 2 in most anticipated.
Were we doing a joke?
We tried.
But were we doing a joke
Literally, it was
then?
like Remnant 2. Cut that. That's gonna be anything. It was literally. It wasn't on our radars as a game to consider for top 10s or whatever. In Game of the Year. So there's definitely an element of surprise of how good it was. So let's that definitely exists because it wasn't on our radar.
There's
I'm
three
not
other games on this list that I would keep.
I'm not anti anything Remnant 2, let's be clear. Like, if one of you said that you were going to let it shag your partner, I would be all for that. But what I am saying...
It's maybe not this category.
What I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, maybe not this
Three
category.
games have to go. Three games have to go. If it's not Remnant 2, what one is going?
I mean, I don't want to agree with Lyle. Is the main thing. Like
none of us want to, mate, but we're here and we've got to do something.
Sometimes we have to for tactical reasons.
There's no way around that, unfortunately.
Look, I tell you what, the only person who's going to fight for this is me, and I say that on this particular list, with the games that are there in any other.
No, I'm going to stop you because I don't think there's a cat in hell's chance that Lyle thought he'd even enjoy this game.
It's true. Let's be honest, Lyle.
Yeah, it is true. I did really enjoy it. I really enjoyed it.
It is a fantastic.
It's really not the sort of game I imagine Lyle playing at all. Like, I'm not saying he doesn't play shooters, and I'm not trying to talk about you like you're not here, but I don't think of you as a big shooter guy. Right?
No, I understand that. I think
he plays as many shooters as I play visual novels.
Kind of, yeah.
Certain visual novels you have a go at.
But that's not the way I'd put
it. So, but like at the same time, it wouldn't be on like my personal list.
Not even for this category.
Because I think there's fucking loads of them. Yeah, for this category, like it's not in the top 5 now. It's one of the ones that I'd cut that are left. Like, just because it's been a year with a lot of fucking great surprises. I liked this game quite a lot, but I like a lot of games quite a lot. Like,
it's a game I'd cut first because I would. And Adam probably already knows this.
I don't.
Well, and only because I haven't of the games on that list, I know the least. Probably Street Fighter.
Oh.
No, I'm asking because I'm asking because it's not my sort of game.
Funny. Like, no, it's what's annoying is I want to cut something else. He'll do that too as well.
Yeah, because I can't.
He's gonna hate us.
Like Street Fighter 6 and Bayonetta Origins are the games on this list that I haven't played.
Yeah,
and I want to play
was
Bayonetta.
the one I was going to say about.
I want to play Bayonetta, but I haven't had a chance yet. And Street Fighter 6, I won't because I'm not a fighting game fan. But I know there's other stuff in it. Should
we rein him back in just so that he can actually face the camera? Should we cut Hi-Fi Rush?
I organised this podcast. I didn't have to do any of it. I could have just said we're not doing it this year. I could have just said we're not doing it this year.
Right, let's calm down. Should we cut Hi-Fi Rush?
I think Hi-Fi Rush can go. We all
I think it was pretty much going before the Remnant 2 conversation happened.
I think we should cut Metroid Prime and fucking Remnant, quite honestly.
This is
fucking hell.
Unreal that anyone would suggest Street Fighter 6 for Nicest Surprise cut. Like, are you fucking for real?
Right.
There's 2 games on there I would lock.
I can't get it back down.
No, okay.
Come back down.
And one of them you won't expect me to lock, but there's 2 on there.
Okay. Maybe we go somewhere slightly different that may backfire. I said I had a top 6. We've got 7 games left. The one that wouldn't be in my list would be.
Sorry, just for seriousness, we've cut Hi-Fi Rush for those listening.
Yes, we've cut Hi-Fi Rush.
Chris said it, and he was the one chatting to Chris White. Okay.
Yeah.
We've still got Metroid Prime Remastered, Bayonetta Origins, Street Fighter 6, Dave the Diver, Remnant 2, Super Mario Wonder, The Last Faith.
Yeah. So for me personally, my number 7 on that list is Bayonetta Origins, and I have played Bayonetta Origins.
I would like to be
Oh my god! What I mean is, I'm not cutting it because I haven't played it. Is what I mean. Don't fucking seal clap me just because I don't disagree. Because I don't read it. Jesus Christ, man!
Go on, Lyle.
Let's go. Okay.
Bring us back. Oh, Jesus!
I can't.
Yeah, I'm on it. Don't worry. Bayonetta Origins, right? This is for me. It might not be number 1 nicest surprise, but it is the one I want to champion the most. for me, Bayonetta Origins was last year. Was last year Bayonetta 3?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, it was.
It was a different year to
It was
this
last
one.
year, I think, yeah.
Okay, Bayonetta 3 came out, and I played like a couple of hours of it, and I just couldn't click with it, and I was like, oh, what's it about this character action game I don't like? It's a shame. It was a series I thought was really cool, and like I hadn't really put enough time into. And then Bayonetta Origins came along, and completely flipped the script on everything that it was. It's not the same genre. It's mechanically surprising. Like everything about how that game plays is just like unlike anything else. The level of charm to a game that's basically known for having big tits, and the level of charm that this like
tits,
child.
Actually. It's more about the ass, Bayonetta. I'm just correcting.
Sorry, thanks. I need this help.
We're talking about Mick Fraser's specialist subject there, DNA, and so I think we should.
If you're going to come at the king, you need to come loaded.
Yeah, you need to have facts.
Thanks, Mick. Thank you. I appreciate your.
No worries.
The game about an app normally, and they changed it to being like almost like a nursery rhyme, like storybook, picture book, like charming, quaint little game. Like couldn't be more fucking different to regular Bayonetta.
Lyle, not to interrupt you, but I don't think you're selling this to Fraser.
Because that's what bothers me most.
Yeah,
it's that it's just a completely different.
You had him
game,
at arse, but then you've you've lost.
It doesn't have tits and ass. It has a
like. Is it a
rhyme.
Bayonetta game for a reason, or is it just because
because it's got Bayonetta in it? Like she's the main character.
Story, Mick.
Yeah, but you're saying it's
clearly sort of in the name.
Yeah, but you're saying it's so completely different from anything else Bayonetta that couldn't this just have been like another game and then they just went, well, let's actually make it.
No,
it feed into the story of Bayonetta.
Mate, that's the Batman argument. Would Batman be Batman if Batman wasn't in Batman?
No, but it is in the sense of
it's a Joker.
There is an element of that is true because it isn't a Bayonetta game. So I know what you're saying. And
it is a Bayonetta game. They made Bayonetta 3, 1, and 2. I'm just saying them in a weird order because you made me so fucking hostile right now.
Is that a stroke?
Not far off. But like they can make whatever kind of game they want. The fucking surprising thing is that they did.
I'm not saying that they shouldn't have made it. I'm more going to the point that this game could exist if the character of Bayonetta wasn't Bayonetta. Which is what Mick was saying.
I'm only asking. This is one I haven't got to yet, and I do want to play it. I'm not knocking the game. I'm not trying to say it's not a good game.
Knocking one out. Spend less time doing that, Mick.
Yes. Not on camera.
We haven't even got to the angle again yet.
Right. Bayonetta Origins is so different to Bayonetta 1, 2, and 3's stylistically. When you first saw Bayonetta Origins, you're like, have they made a kids game? Because it's got this beautiful, painterly, pastels look to it. It's got like a childlike voice actor. And what they essentially did, to those who haven't played it at all, is they almost took like the concept. Remember Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, where you control two people at the same time with the two different sticks? That's what this game is. But they then layered on Bayonetta's combat. So while it's not quite as deep as the combos you will pull off, you will do combos. You will do Bayonetta combos, but you will do them as the lost demon, so to speak, as Cheshire, the cat demon thing, and like it is your job to protect Bayonetta because she is a young witch in learning, and Cheshire's the demon that you control that does attacks and stuff. And it's also a Metroidvania, by the way, Mick. Yeah? Not so fucking ready to cut it now, are we? It's a Metroidvania.
I haven't played it.
It's not my fault. No, but listen, seriously. But seriously, it's a Metroidvania, and like the first power you get is like earth power that lets you go to other areas that you couldn't previously, and you go on and you get water and stuff like that. So it's a bit like that. It's like a combination of Bayonetta, Ori and the Blind Forest, any other Metroidvania you want to throw in there, but with a Brothers: Tale of Two Sons sort of isometric viewpoint and control system. But they also do things I don't want to spoil on day one. I think it's astonishing this game exists. And here's the real kicker for me. The biggest surprise part of a game I think is surprising full stop is that it's better than Bayonetta 3, which is the main game. That is their main game. People were after Bayonetta 3, 4. I mean, it was the joke. It was the Silk Song before Silk Song was Silk Song. Do you know what I mean? It was like, oh, is it this year? Ha ha. No, still no, nothing. Oh, we're going to see it? No. And Bayonetta 3 was a really good game, I will say that. I reviewed it and really enjoyed it. But this is different, and it left me going, I want more of this. I want more of this game.
My only question then is, what would you cut instead? What would you personally cut instead from this list? Because I know there's a few on there that you would not cut, and I'd probably agree with you on at least 2 of them.
There's one on there I could cut. Nobody would think I'd cut it, and nobody would agree with me. So I'm sort of like reticent to suggest it.
That sounds like a great idea.
The 2 I would cut, I would cut Remnant 2, but it would be my number 6, and that was only because of The Last Faith. The game I would cut, other than Remnant 2, personally, is Super Mario Wonder.
See, I would keep Super Mario Wonder.
I would be keeping Wonder. But this is...
To be clear, I gave Super Mario Wonder a 10 out of 10, and it is one of my 10 of the year.
The only thing I'd say about Super Mario Wonder is we knew that was going to be...
This is my point.
Fantastic. But I do think... When was it announced? Was it announced this year?
Yeah, it was
because that's the thing about it with me. Like, I didn't even know this was coming until we were talking about your preview of it. Like, because I'm not a big Nintendo
No,
fan.
but that's...
Right, if all of a sudden that game was just there.
Maybe Mario Wonder isn't cut. Maybe it isn't cut because while it's not a surprise to the quality of the game
I still
itself...
think there's an argument to be made for that, but carry on.
Okay, but the game in and of itself constantly surprises you
in
a nice way.
So that is why I'm
sort of... But the only way I can work around this in my head of trying to keep everybody happy, because I would also maybe be slightly tempted to go the Metroid route as well, but the reason I wouldn't is because Dave the Diver was early access and had a lot of heat. So, but not for us.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one, isn't it? Because it's our list, but I guess...
You know what? I'm trying to find a...
As a surprise, I would probably cut... I wouldn't cut Dave the Diver right away. And yeah, it was early access, and I know... But I had no idea what I was walking into with that game. And I know that's fair to say of any game that you haven't followed. But like that again, that's a game where, like you said about Super Mario Wonder, is a game that constantly surprises you. Dave the Diver
does that.
does not stop.
You're right.
That game just keeps on getting bigger. Like, it is mad. I've never seen a game that just keeps adding, and like 10 hours in, it's adding new stuff, and it never feels like, oh, what's this now? It's always like, fuck, I can do this, and I think that is just one of the most fucking fantastically developed games.
You're right.
And I do think it, and again, for me, it came out of nowhere. Yes, it was in early access, but the early access is not something that everybody gets into. Like, a lot of people don't do early access. Yeah.
Lyle was right. It's our list.
You know what? I as much as I hate to say it, and I feel like Lyle is just really far too fucking smug about it. Remnant 2 probably of what's left on the list. If we're championing Bayonetta, we're going to talk about Remnant 2 on other lists, right?
A lot.
It's going to come up. It's one of the best. It is one of the best games this year. Yeah. We are going to discuss it. I was not surprised by Remnant 2 because I just spent 30 hours in Remnant from the Ashes right before Remnant 2 came out.
A Let's Play thing, hadn't you?
I really wanted to get, because I thought, I'm going to do it. And I got into Remnant from the Ashes and it was fantastic. And then the biggest surprise about Remnant 2 was how much better it was. And Remnant from the Ashes was still a good game. Like, I'm not saying that it wasn't. So that, for me, and Remnant 2 is another game that consistently just, like, I can't think of another game that I played and was so...
I think that's the surprise part for me, is that I didn't expect to like it that much.
Yeah, that is definitely the thing for me.
During the review, conversations we were having and stuff about that, fuck, I've just found this, or I've just found that. Everything was... But as a surprise in of itself, maybe it doesn't stay on this list, because I think there are games on this list that were more...
I will say, just to chat, sorry, because it almost sounds like we're cutting it. I do think that element of surprising us, because they put so much secret things in this game for you to discover. There is that element to it as well that we've not really mentioned. That is one of the reasons why we all love this.
But that is what they did before as well
game.
with the first one.
They did do that to an extent with the first one, but it wasn't on the same level. It was
no.
Was that?
The first game,
Remnant from the Ashes.
Okay.
They that was another game that you could chase secrets forever.
Oh, Chris, sorry, that was much better than I gave you credit for. I apologise. Sorry, mate. I genuinely thought you hadn't heard. No, I really thought you hadn't heard. And that was genuinely much better. I apologise. That was way better than I gave you credit for.
I think I'd like. Look, Adam's very passionate, and Lyle both very passionate about Bayonetta Origins, right? And I get it. I do understand that that is a surprise because it's not a Bayonetta game. Like if you look at it, you don't think that's a Bayonetta game.
No, but I promise you, as you play it, it becomes one.
That's fine. That's what I mean. So for someone to go, here's this game, I looked at it and went, I'm not sure I want to play that. I like.
No, the first 2 hours of it are a very slow thing.
The first hour is incredibly slow.
Incredibly slow.
Then it goes okay. I don't.
And by the end, like it is. You finished it, Chris Hyde.
I haven't finished it.
Okay,
and that's the other thing for me.
But we got to bin 2 games off this list, and I don't think we're going to bin Metroid Prime Remastered because that was I don't know. We haven't discussed it yet. I'm sure,
but it's sort of just there. It's only that and Street Fighter we haven't discussed.
I mean, I'd like to hear. I'm genuinely because I'm not a Street Fighter fan. I'm not a
we can do this. Let's
know what the big deal.
I'd like to have a say in a bit.
Yeah,
absolutely. But I can do this really quickly and succinctly. Mick, describe to me a Street Fighter campaign. You know, the story mode, so to speak. Describe it to me.
I don't know. You beat people up in a row, and then you
So what if I told you that for Street Fighter 6? They put an entire Yakuza RPG game in there where you have an open world, leveling up, different people.
This is the only reason I kind of want to play.
You can create for the first time I can recall. You create your avatar, right, and you can give him Ken's Hadoken. You can give him Chun-Li's you can. And if you you can do all of that stuff, and if you can even change the sort of whoever your mentor is, and it changes them to be their fighting style. Like this is. Sean and I went to preview this, and they sort of, like the people at Capcom were like, yeah, we just sit down and play some World Tour. And we start playing it, and we're like, we both were looking at each other going, what's going on? This is Street Fighter, but it's like basically Yakuza. It's like a 20-hour open world RPG in what? You know, we were both, and we were driving home, and we were both just like going, what's going on? Like they've basically made a Dreamcast game. It's that weirdness.
Weird sort of like childhood pipe dream that they've somehow made into a reality. Like it's the kind of thing that you would imagine as an 8-year-old going, wouldn't it be cool if I could do this? Like, and then they've made it work, but really well. Aside from
it pervades the online,
like a upside down triangle with a tiny head.
But that's kind of the fun of it. That's the camp silliness.
And then you can take that character online,
and
like mince around the place, and it's just like this weird sort of like beefcake, do it sort of
doing
on
Chun-Li's
tiptoes like a ballerina. It's brilliant. Like I'm all for World Tour mode. That's right, isn't it? World Tour.
Yeah, but like that, you can't take that game. It pervades the whole game. Like you go online with your avatar.
I'm saying that for me is
that's
why
ridiculous.
this is the nicest surprise.
Yeah,
that and the whole 4 to 5 to 6 shite. Like the fact that it was 4 was great, 5 was dog shit, and 6 brought it back up. That was a nice thing as well. But the World Tour is the thing that seals this for me because it's just like challenging grannies to a fight in the street, knowing you're going to fight,
doing a spinning bird kick into a granny to start the fight off.
Yeah, exactly. It's literally like I say, it's like an 8-year-old's written the kind of main mechanics and they've just gone,
Also, Mick, it's kind of a Metroidvania because when you unlock new moves like spin, no, it is. No, it is not. No, it is not. When you unlock moves like the sumo headbutt or the spinning bird kick, it allows you to do that across like platforms, so you can get to places you couldn't previously.
Technically, you are right. Yeah, okay,
that's kind of right.
Yeah, you can get to higher places and shit like that with special moves.
You can do like a shoryuken to jump up a higher ledge.
Right, technically. Yeah.
I would also say the story as well. It's fan service, but it's also like surprising where it takes you. Like you don't know who you're going to meet because I mean, I went in blind. I expected to see Ryu and Ken and Blanca, but the way that they introduce these characters, the way they introduce Blanca is phenomenal. So funny. And like, there's also like a lot of surprises in the store. I call them sub stories, but that's Yakuza. But like, there's a lot of missions.
That's what they are. That they are that.
And you can miss. I'm sure you can miss like
loads
of like what are they called? Teachers, the people who train,
the
trainers,
mentors or whatever.
Mentors.
Yeah, Dalsim is optional.
Dalsim is optional. There's
the guide on GodisaGeek.
Girl from Mexico. Yeah, there is. But like, you just
never miss a moment.
You never know.
Always on.
You never know who's going to appear, when they're going to appear. I like the bit in the like scaffold, like the building scaffold, and then Ken's there. It's like, oh my god, it's Ken. I like it does it so well with the story mode.
It's so that's the other bit actually, which I felt like a little like giddy schoolgirl a little bit. I was like, oh, I'm meeting Chun-Li, like not from a Mick perspective, but like
Chun-Li. She's a bit of a
know what I mean though. It's like, because obviously that's what's happening in the conversation as well, isn't it? And you're like, oh, it's Chun-Li, and like I love it. I think it's.
Can I also just add that outside of World Tour, there are other little surprises in this game. So, for example, Capcom have like recently they remake and remaster a lot of stuff. Like Dragon's Dogma's been out a million times, and now we've got Ghost Trick, and they're even doing that. And Resident Evil, they keep remaking them. So it's kind of surprising to me that when you go to the online avatar sort of arena, there are just like full arcade games you can just sit down your avatar at, and then you're just playing Street Fighter 2 Hyper Edition, or that sort of thing. That's kind. Yeah.
Is it Fatal Fury?
Fatal Fury's in there. Yeah, and they rotate those games in and out. So that's the sort of thing they charge you for in like Capcom Fighting Collection, but they're just in it. Like this is a tremendous game and surprising in kind of every way. I think every way possible.
I don't think I'll be fighting a washing machine.
Oh fuck me. That's what I mean about the Yakuza though. That's the sort of thing I'd expect in Yakuza. Yeah. Like I don't if I were to go away from this list and this wasn't on it somewhere, then? I don't get how that would be possible. I really don't see how Street Fighter 6 couldn't be on this list.
Look, I think you got to cut.
Cut what?
It's just paused. It's just like, yeah, but we've got to cut 2. Cheers, mate.
You got to cut Remnant 2, I think. Like, I don't want you to, but I'm the only one that's jumping up and down for it.
No, listen, I'm just trying to survey the room, and I just think
cut something else. I'm not being.
I mean, I wouldn't. But this is the thing. Like, I wouldn't cut Dave the Diver. I wouldn't cut The Last Faith. I would cut Metroid Prime, and I'd cut Bayonetta Origins, and I'd cut Street Fighter 6, but only because they're not my choices. So, like, but you guys are quite passionate about those, and I think a lot of those have got more than one person that's passionate about.
I would genuinely say that. Cutting Street Fighter 6 and Bayonetta from a list of Nicest Surprises, it feels like nobody's understood what this list is if we're cutting them two. I'm not having a go at anyone. I'm just saying that if you cut them two, and I think Dave the Diver actually is another one, another lock. You cut those 3 games, and I think you've just cut the heart out of what this award's about. Like, it's about either something that came from nowhere and blew us away and constantly kept evolving and sprite. I just...
Like I said, the only one
is a lock for me.
The only one I disagree with, because I championed Street Fighter 6 and Dave is Bayonetta.
I really would say that you wouldn't feel that way if you finished it. And I know that's a cheap shot, as it were.
It does feel like a cheap shot,
but I don't mean
I haven't finished it as well.
But I can't. So I won't spoil it on day 1. Day 4, we will talk about the moment. I'm specifically. I don't know how far you got either. That's also so.
I'm like I've got the 3rd power. If that you want to go with that.
Water or fire? Yeah.
God, water. Sorry.
What happened to you then? You sound like me.
I know.
That's bad.
What about
Super
Mario Wonder? Let's go back to Super Mario Wonder.
Well, hang on. No, look, we need to decide: are we or not cutting Remnant? Because if we're not cutting it,
I don't want to, but I feel like I'm outvoted by 4 people.
I think, if I'm being honest, Remnant 2. All jokes aside about the first game, just so everyone's clear, I think that's less of a nice surprise than the other 6. And whilst it is excellent and will definitely come up in future categories, I think it goes. But it's great. Go play it. We love it. You'll hear about it in future categories.
Yeah, it's going to show up fucking loads.
And it deserves to do because it's great. But I think the other
not 6, this category for me. It's not.
No. And I think that's fair. But it doesn't take anything away from the quality of the game because it will appear later.
Lyle?
That appease Mick.
Yeah, no, basically exactly that.
Chris, White?
Yeah, I was just sort of agreeing.
Cuts it in this category, yeah.
Sorry, Mick.
It's all right.
Doesn't sound like it is.
How it works.
So that leaves us with Metroid Prime Remastered, Bayonetta Origins, Street Fighter 6, Dave the Diver, Super Mario Wonder, and The Last Faith. So one needs to go. And I hate to say it. Go on. Sorry, Lyle, go on.
I want to ask a little bit more about The Last Faith. I didn't really get what was surprising about it, other than that it was this like good Metroidvania that's a bit soulsy.
No,
I didn't get what magic
because
thing
it's more
was.
what it is. I think. Like, I don't think any of us, like the guy. I think only me, Adam, and Chris have played it. I don't think it's a little bit like go on. No, what? Like it's a little.
I was just
bit
saying.
like,
I'm not saying it's going to be cut.
No.
Or anything.
It's not one that I'm saying it's a big surprise because it was good. Like I've been following it for quite a while. I put it on the list of upcoming games a long time ago. I didn't play it in early access. But it's not just that, it was good, so it deserves to be on a Nicest Surprise list. I think it's more what it is and what it harkens back to. Like it's, and I say this, there's Metroidvania is a and Souls-like, again, these are two terms that are bandied about now. Any game where you unlock a power, like any game where you unlock a key that's not a key is now a Metroidvania. Any game where the enemies respawn when you die is a Souls-like. And I think that, so when you say, it's a Souls-like Metroidvania, you get an image in your head of what the game is going to be. And I wasn't expecting this to be so close to the Castlevanias of old. And for me, that's what it is. It felt like, in the same way as I felt about Bloodstained. Bloodstained is one of my
on that, by the way.
Games of the last few
I think
years.
this is way better than Bloodstained.
It is. I think it does play better than Bloodstained. I do. And I think it's less derivative, maybe, even than Bloodstained.
I think it takes a really clever and potentially slightly brave developer to cherry pick things from other games and to integrate them in such a efficient and well done way. Like generally speaking, Salt and Sanctuary was the last time I can remember loving a game that was my genre, Metroidvania, but borrowed from Souls, right? Like I can respect Blasphemous and Blasphemous 2, but they're just not it for me. Like they are, I'm not going to sit here and say they're not good. They're well-made games, but the Last Faith pulls everything together in a way that, like, I kept thinking, I'll fall off it. These are the sort of games I always fall off. I'll fall off it, and it was almost became an unintentional that Chris Hyde and I were almost egging each other on by, we were just both the same. Like, I'm not speaking for him. I know this. We were texting each other. Both of us kept being like, it's all I can think about. It's all I can think about. And there are still a lot of good games we could be playing. Like, we could be playing any of the games on this list still. Like, I thought about replaying Metroid Prime again. I haven't finished Dave the Diver. I'd like to, but I could not put The Last Faith down, to the point where I was playing it on my PC, then I'd go inside and I'd play it on my Steam Deck, and when I finished it, I was like, I think I need to delete this. Because if I don't delete this, I think I'm going to keep coming back to try and 100% it. And I have to delete this now, because I think if I don't, and then because I really wanted to play through at the time Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name, I was like, I think I'm just going to keep picking up the Steam Deck.
Yeah,
I think I'm just going to keep doing that. And if I don't, you know what I mean? It's really surprising 100%. How much it's captured me.
And like there haven't been many games this year where I haven't been able to stop playing it, and it's trumping everything else. It's what I'm thinking about when I'm at work. When am I going to get to carry on playing it? There's been quite a few good games like that this year, but this has been one of them. And I didn't think I'd be thinking about this in my top 10 when I started playing it, and then I've played it and played it. To
be clear as well, like Mick, you've got I think sometimes not diverse, that's not the right word, but in terms of tastes of games, you tend to play a lot of the games like the Robocops, like a lot of games that maybe like Lyle or myself won't touch. Not that we don't want to, we just there'll be something else. I booted this up thinking this is going to be another one of them games that Mick's raving about and he loves.
Mick's raving about when it's shit.
No, but it's not. No, it's not that it would be shit. I was expecting it to be one of those that Mick loves, but I bounced off. And because you love this genre.
Yeah,
it is your favourite genre, Metroidvania.
Yeah, it's just my favourite.
So I was expecting it to be like, is this going to be that good? Not that I don't trust you. If you give it a 9, that's why I played it. The reason I'm playing it is because Mick fucking Fraser gave it a 9 out of 10.
Yes.
And then I play it and I'm like, well, am I going to bounce off it? And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God. Like, would I score this
it takes an
higher than
hour.
Mick?
It takes an hour.
But an hour's not asking too much of you for a video game, really. No. I'd sooner this on the list than Metroid Prime Remastered.
Can I? I'm gonna say something here. I think there's 4 locks on this list and 2 we need to debate over. I think Street Fighter 6 is a lock. I think Dave the Diver is a lock. I think The Last Faith is a lock. And through passion alone, compared to the others, I think Bayonetta might be a lock. And I think we maybe
agree.
I think we maybe need
Chris
to
choose. I like this.
Why we need.
I do think
disagree.
he's right. White's right.
Thanks, mate.
Don't take that out of context, for fuck's sake.
Oh, Jesus. Fucking hell.
What did he say?
Don't make him say it again.
No.
Listen to the
Please
podcast.
say
it again.
Make him listen to the podcast. I'll tell you after.
I said Christopher White. Christopher
yeah.
P.P. White, who is on this podcast, is correct. That's what
Yes, okay, I'm with you. What you said though, yeah.
Oh,
But the thing is, I understand that you think we're wrong, but Chris Hyde, you want to cut Bayonetta. That's the game you want to cut here.
That would be the game I would cut off to get it to. God, how many are we in now? I'm
6,
going cross-eyed. So that would be the
We need one cut.
Yeah.
I don't think you can cut Bayonetta over Metroid in this category purely.
No one said
because-
anything about Metroid other than what we
Chris
talked about
just
on
did.
the first part of day
No,
one.
Chris White just said he said that Metroid and Super
Wonder.
Mario Wonder are the games we need to debate over.
No, but I'm saying nobody said anything about Metroid Prime Remastered, why it should be on Nicest Surprise, other than the fact it was shadow dropped, which we knew. Obviously, we know that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, listen, like the thing about the reason why this is a Nicest Surprise is that it's the shadow drop, the enhancements, and I guess the price wasn't extortionate for Nintendo. Was it 30 quid, something like that?
Something like that.
For a remastered game. So it's like, because I remember you messaging me because I was in bed at the time. This isn't going to go creepy. Don't worry. It's not another TNA thing. And you were like, have you seen the announcement? I was like, no, what? He's like, Metroid Prime, it's out now. I was like, what? Like, for me, it was one of the nicest surprises. I love that game. It's like I say, my favorite game of generation. I get that I'm biased, but for me, it was one of the nicest surprises of the year. I can now replay an improved version of one of my favorite games of all time.
And I do respect that, and I do think it was a nice and a cool moment of a surprise. But is what you're saying any different to what Chris initially said about Hi-Fi Rush? Whereas the other 5 games that would remain on the list, Last Faith, Wonder, Dave the Diver, Street Fighter 6, Bayonetta Origins, are entirely new games that all were very surprising.
And if we're saying that like a remaster can't ever be Nicest Surprise, then fine because of that.
No one's saying that.
But your logic does extend, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I think there is some value to what you're saying, some merit to it. I'm just being clear. Like we talked a lot about Metroid Prime in the previous category, how good it was. Put it third for a reason in in best re-release or remake, and then the surprise element we said we weren't going to talk about in this until now is that on top. So like, but if that's not enough, if what we're actually saying around the core, no, was the gameplay surprising? No, because I played it on the GameCube, so I can't talk to it being surprising as I played it. So yeah, the only surprising elements are things outside that, which was I didn't know that. I mean, we talked about the idea of a Metroid Prime thing coming out, but no one knew for sure. In the same way that everyone talks about 1,000 Year Door, but you don't know until it gets announced. But like, I can't. Obviously, I'm limited by what I can say is surprising about it. But yeah, for me, it was a massive surprise, a really nice surprise. But if it wasn't a nice surprise for everyone else, I kind of get it because the game itself is a remaster, so it's not as surprising to players like The Last Faith was because that's brand new. So I get it.
Like, I hate to go around the houses and double back on myself, but Nicest Surprise. The whole point of this is that it was a surprise. That was a massive, massive surprise.
But it wasn't, not really, because it had leaked, and it had leaked for like a year. People kept saying it was coming. Now, whether that was guesswork or knowledge,
it was guesswork. No one knew. Let's be fair. I do understand what you're saying, that people had hoped and guessed for a little while.
Legend of Zelda's Twilight Princess was still not, people said
exactly.
that.
When are we getting the Wind Waker and the Twilight Princess one that everyone says is going to come every direct from the really credible sources that never happens? But like,
let's vote.
But this is what I'm saying. If we're saying that because it was guest or it's a remaster, it's not surprising. That's
it's nothing
fine.
to do with it being a remaster for me, to be absolutely clear. I'm not saying you're putting words in my mouth, but I feel like you are a bit, because I'm not saying it shouldn't win because it's a remaster. I'm saying it shouldn't win because the only thing surprising about it was we didn't know it was coming.
But my
and I'm
point is,
saying
by
the other 5
definition-
games are similar and more surprising because
But
of
you're
their...
not saying it, but you are, because you're saying that.
I'm
Because no. Let me explain. Because a remaster can't be surprising in the way it plays, because it's the same game. A remake can, but a remaster
It can't be
is
to me
not
because
a
I hadn't played it, if you know what I mean. So playing it for the first time, it was all new to me.
You played the original. I don't. Sorry, I don't.
No, I played the
Wii
Wii version. I can't remember.
Well,
What
yeah,
version I
okay,
played
so
now.
yeah, but not the remaster one we're talking about. I guess my point is, like, physically a remaster physically can't be surprising in the way
it can, because they changed the
or the story or
controls.
the character or anything, because it's the same game.
But they did
And that's
change the
cool.
controls.
If that means it doesn't go on this category and it's got its own category, literally the one we just had, that's all
true.
cool.
But I think they did change the controls and stuff, so it's not like it's just a re-release.
No, but is that something you measure more in, because we did talk about it in the remaster bit?
I'm just
I
saying,
don't
I
know,
think the other
um,
5 games are more surprising.
We've
it's
got
not
one
my
left
awards, it's ours.
to trim, and then we can get to the order. I say we just vote now and move on.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right.
Because we have discussed everything.
Right.
Everything's had its.
No, you're
had
right.
its
Everything's
thing,
been discussed. It is down to Chris Hyde.
I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm true to myself. It's Bayonetta. I don't think it's going to happen. But
okay. Chris White.
Metroid.
Okay. Mick Fraser. I don't know why I said your surname. You're the only Mick. I do it every year.
Metroid.
Lyle.
You don't have to do a decider because it's Metroid.
It's better. I don't know why I did there. Yeah. So Metroid. Sorry, Chris. I know you love that game. I know. I do. It doesn't give me no pleasure.
No.
Any
I get it. I get it. It's fine.
So do we say Bayonetta is 5th?
I think so. I think that might be fair.
I'm not.
I feel sort of the same as that. I'm just glad that it didn't get. I'm not numbering them for any reason, by the way. People watching, I'm just numbering so we have a number. So if we're saying Bayonetta's 5th, locked. Are we saying
I think Super Mario might be 4th. Maybe. Because I'd
like to hear from the Chris's on that game, actually.
Yeah.
This is the thing, right? With this game, that the 2 games I couldn't stop playing were Last Faith and Super Mario Wonder, and they're both on this list of surprising. The thing about Super Mario Wonder that I can't emphasize enough is that game kept surprising me. It wasn't a nice surprise of what it was, and that was nice, right? I had a nice surprise every level in that game, right? Yeah. It is literally a bag of surprises, and I'm amazed we're talking about it being 4th and that we was originally going to look at being cut. I think this game constantly surprises you. It's not one nicest surprise. It's a whole hatful of them, and
I think we also have to think about the fact
I've done some jiggling. Sorry, go on, Lyle. Sorry, Mario Wonder.
I was just going to say, I think we also have to think about the fact that, like, 2D Mario isn't something that people have been that excited about for quite a while. Really.
If I'm honest, right, yeah, and I think I said this on the other pod, right? Because of the whole new Super Mario Bros. U shit, like that period of stuff that shit for Mario, right? Which is a 9,
yeah, like
right.
Let's
pretend they were crap. Sorry, I'm being a bit derivative, but like when you said about it, Adam, because you reviewed it and you were like, this is banging. This is like back to Super Mario World, whatever the number would be. It's that good. And I was like, of course it is. It's like the whole Mick thing. Mick said Last Faith was good, whatever, and it's like, no, it really is the best since Super Mario World for 2D platformers. Mario, it is the cream of the crop. It's properly elevated their output of 2D platformers for me. Good luck following it, but we said that before with Nintendo when they seem to still knock it out of the park.
What do people think about the list? Sorry to the audio
I
listeners
liked
only.
it before, but I like both of those games, so I'm not going to quibble over 3 and 4. But
I've just listened to how everyone's talked. I've put a little provisional list here with Bayonetta in 5th, Last Faith 4th, Street Fighter 6th, Dave the Diver 2nd, and Wonder in 1st. How do people feel about that generally? Like, what needs moving there?
For me, the only thing I can't comment on, like I said, is Street Fighter 6 because I just can't. So, I do think that list looks.
So does Street Fighter and the Last Faith move round? Is that what you're suggesting?
If we're looking at, I'm not sure Super Mario Wonder is number 1 for me. But again, that's just me. I'm not the biggest Mario fan. So the fact that
you sent me texts about that game, like being like, "This is absolutely wonderful."
And I'm going to admit that I have.
The nicest surprise is Mick's played a Mario game. Put that.
I'm genuinely, really, really like it, and I kind of didn't fully expect to. But I mean, look, I'm comfortable with that list. Let's say, like the Last Faith is not the nicest surprise. Dave the Diver is on this list. Street Fighter 6, I can't speak to where that goes.
I think
I'm comfortable. I could live with that, and I'd be happy.
Originally, when you had it the other way around, people that weren't have seen the list, it was Street Fighter 6, 4, and Last Faith 3rd. Originally, I was like, that's banging, that's perfect. I think there might be a bit of recency bias on the Last Faith for me, because if I think back to actually Street Fighter 6 and World Tour and everything I was waxing lyrical about just a few moments ago, I'd put Street Fighter 6 above it.
I'd put Street Fighter at 2nd, but I don't think I've got any chance in hell.
For me, I think, okay, I'd lock 1, 4, and 5 and then let you fight it out. But like, I would be happy with that list if Street Fighter 6 ended up being 2nd, fucking fantastic. Because but like I'm not, I'm happy with that order. I think that's also quite a good reflection of the site as well in terms of what we like and what we've played and what we've enjoyed.
I think there's a really good spread
and what has been surprising
of genres and
unless
stuff
people strongly disagree.
Well,
I think that's a pretty good order.
I don't massively go on, Lyle.
I was just going to say, mine will be very quick in that I'd be fucking delighted with that list. I think that's great.
I think the only reason I would disagree is because Dave the Diver I haven't tried, but like Super Mario Wonder, in terms of surprise,
I guarantee you'll fall in love.
I will.
With Dave.
I know, yeah. And that's why I'm not.
4 of us have played Street Fighter 6 and been floored with it.
Super Mario Wonder.
This is the only reason why I'm wondering if Street Fighter 6 goes above it.
Super Mario Wonder, Chris.
Like I said, guys, I can't argue against Street Fighter 6, and what you've said about it makes me want to play a Street Fighter game. No, but it's true. Like, and what you've said actually makes me want. I haven't wanted to play a Street Fighter game since probably Street Fighter 2. I'm it's not my genre, but I want to play this.
I do also think as well, just reflecting on everything that's been said, the whole thing that and I know it was you and Sean, right? But it could have been another person, right? That whole car journey conversation is literally the epitome of Nicest Surprise.
I couldn't believe what we'd seen and played. I just couldn't believe it.
And then obviously that then rolls out to us all playing it and being surprised that it even conceptually exists.
I mean, man, we were checking our watches. Is it April? Like, you can imagine no one else had seen it.
That's the epitome of Nicest
This
Surprise.
Is what I mean. This is why I think
Fighter
maybe
6,
it's 2. I do.
No, Wonder does that as well, though.
Wonder does do that. Yeah, to be fair, Wonder does that every level.
Yeah, I prefer that, but
I keep saying I'm comfortable with that because every time you change it, I think
Lyle fucking love that list. I don't convince he's as much fucking love that list as he does before.
Yeah, I mean, I really, really love Dave the Diver, but it's really hard to argue with how surprising Street Fighter 6 is.
There are elements of 6 we didn't talk about. Go on. I think you were going to just say exactly the bit I was going to say, but go on.
Was it going to be like how it makes the game accessible to people who don't play fighting games?
So there's 2 things.
I was going to bring that up as well.
But also,
that is great.
I love how it just embraces the campness.
Yeah,
I think that's fantastic.
Oh my God.
The opening cutscene. I remember when we got the review build and I'm watching the opening cutscene and I can just remember. I remember thinking, "This is amazing," but some people are going to be so angry, and that's even more amazing. Like, do you know what I mean? I remember thinking that.
No shade, I just thought Lyle's gonna love this. Like, I just remember seeing it, and I was like, Lyle's gonna love that.
I think anyone who grew up playing games from an older era is gonna love it, because like it was less. It's less prevalent now, remarkably. That sort of. It's just. Yeah, the accessibility is awesome, but in all respects, and
I do like that, because I do think that sometimes Street Fighter to a lesser extent, but has been guilty of in the past of being a bit of its own arse in terms of this is the control scheme and you've got to master this way of playing it. I do like the fact that you can go, no, do you know what? I want a really easy way of controlling this character, or you want the traditional way of controlling. I just think, and you can flip it on and off for different characters. I love it.
Street Fighter 6 could not be a more surprising fighting game if it tried. There is, like we talked about, I believe with Resident Evil 4, Street Fighter 6 for me. I don't know what more they could do.
And you still don't think it maybe should be number one? I'm just
on my list, sure, but also Super Mario Wonder is a 10 out of 10 game as well. And even when I thought I'd seen it all, they would come up with another gimmick. The gimmick's don't feel like the right word.
Mechanic. Let's say
idea. They come up with another idea that you're like. Do you know what in November there was a discussion about the Beatles in our Discord. This is a bit inside baseball, but where somebody, I won't even name him, called them overrated, and I think that even for me, I'm not actually I wouldn't class myself as like the big Beatles fan. I like the Beatles. I like a lot of their music. There's some I don't like, but I still think if anything they're actually underrated because of what they inspired, what they did. They were ahead of their times. Nintendo, it's very easy for people to be like, oh well, of course it's a 10 out of 10, it's a Nintendo game. They weren't always this way. Like, the new Super Mario Brothers games were fine. They were good games.
Yeah, exactly.
But Wonder, like Pikmin 4, like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, like all of these games, they didn't have to go to town the amount they did. This Wonder is remarkable. It pisses ideas away like they're infinite money.
Yeah, and let's not water down what a 10 out of 10 is. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like as Nintendo, they get
that's the best game discussion, right? I'm talking about the surprise element. Like,
but that's what I just said.
On the outside of this and saying, a lot of you have called Street Fighter 6.
No, but what I'm saying is that Super Mario Wonder literally bins more surprising ideas than other developers come up with in a lifetime. Like, when you think I've seen it all, they throw another mechanic or idea, and you're like, this is nuts. I mean, there has not been a better, more aptly named game in living memory for me than Wonder. It is surprising wonder. It is boundless in its creativity, which in itself is what provides the surprise. Like, Wonder pisses this of me. Like, now,
I love what's, to be clear, because I've waxed lyrical about Street Fighter 6, but for me, Wonder's still number one. Like, it is, like, for what it does.
So that's the list then, right?
I think it is.
No complaints here.
Yep.
In fifth place, then, Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon. Fourth place, The Nicest Surprise. In fourth is The Last Faith. Then Dave the Diver in third. Street Fighter 6 takes second place, and the Nicest Surprise of 2023 is Super Mario Wonder. So it's the last award of day one, biggest disappointment, which last year was won by Babylon's Fall. With Saints Row behind it, and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet after that. Wowza.
Shit show.
Wowza. This year's nominees for biggest disappointment then. Not quite as big a list as Nicest Surprise, but we start with Atomic Heart, Forspoken, Flashback 2, Wanted Dead, Wolong Fallen Dynasty, Redfall, Payday 3, Master Detective Archives Raincode, Diablo 4, Lord of the Rings Gollum, Lord of the Rings Return to Moria, Starfield, Hellboy Web of Word. No, whatever that is. The Last of Us Part 1
is that word.
The Last of Us Part 1 on PC and Crash Team Rumble. I think there's some very simple cuts here, because there are some that are like 7 out of 10s, and I don't get why they're really on it.
Can we launch straight into why Diablo 4's on there?
Well, I assumed you put it on there.
No, it was a
there we go again.
Diablo 4's great. Like,
it was him.
It's fucking...
For some reason, Lyle felt Diablo 4 was a massive disappointment. I don't understand that. It hasn't had a great period post-launch, like they fucked around with it with updates and things, but it was an incredibly strong launch, and it's a very good, solid game.
For me, it was Diablo 2 is like one of my favorite games of all time, like easily in top 5. I've spent billions of hours on Diablo 2.
But so have I.
Diablo.
Let the man make his point.
Yeah, Mick,
Christ.
Yeah. Diablo 3 came out, was totally fucking different, and like it was so many years later, evolved so many things. I maybe don't like it quite as much as Diablo 2, but it felt like this huge jump forward. Diablo 4 felt like it could have come like 2 years after Diablo 3. It was basically just sort of more of the same. It just didn't feel that exciting. Like for something that I was like, it was on my personal like most anticipated of this year, and I just like I thought it was all right. Like I thought it was good, even though it may be even great. But like I thought this was going to be a game I'd want to spend like hundreds of hours on, and it's not even close. I can't. Felt like more of stuff. I mean, it's not going to make the list.
And it's worth noting that biggest disappointment is a list of 3 games.
Yeah. I mean, there is
like.
I mean, I wouldn't put that in the top 10 of what's on this list.
No, but like, but then I've got one on here that no way is making it.
Well.
Sorry, go on, Lyle.
Alongside that as well, I have to say, like, I haven't played a lot of the games on here that are real fucking shit shows. So my biggest disappointment list is very, very different.
That's fair. I just think
so many of
this list is almost unluckiest reviewer, isn't it?
I think Diablo 4. I get why people had their issues with it. I do, and for me, it's not as good as Diablo 3, and it's certainly not as good as Diablo 2 was.
I think it's madness that this is.
But I won't knock Diablo. I won't. I just don't think this belongs on a biggest disappointment.
And that's fine. It can be.
I just think it's too good a game.
Can I also just offer up one which I don't quite get why it's here. Why is Wolong Fallen Dynasty on here? Like I know it's not like it's not a bad game. It's not a disappointment.
Mick has reviewed all of these.
I gave it 8
for spoken.
I reviewed nearly everything on that. I think 9 of them are mine, and one of them's yours.
I mean, I hated the boss thing that I couldn't do, but I can't speak to the whole game.
It's not a disappointment, though, is it?
Like,
I mean, it's a disappointment that I couldn't get past the first boss. That is a disappointment, but I can't speak to the whole game as a thing.
It's a good game.
It's gone. Let's not fuck around.
Compared to some of the other,
why is
Parades of Brown on here?
Was the PC? I didn't play the PC version.
The PC version launched in a bad state. They've done right by it though, haven't they? So it's sort of like one of those where
it's just Cyberpunk.
So that's an easy cut, is it?
It is because it's a digital only game, so it's not like you can even go, but if people bought the physical PC version, like it doesn't exist anymore. So disappointing launch, but like Chris White, you're the only one who's played. No, I've played it, I think, but not much.
Well, to be fair, I played it after it had been patched quite significantly.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
It's The Last of Us. It's perfection.
So yes,
so slightly subpar perfection.
yeah. Technically, but no, fine to quit. Okay. I would also. I'm just asking who put Hellboy on and why.
I did, mate.
Okay.
I didn't. I sidestepped this one, and you took the bullet. I think.
Yeah, no, I did.
But you liked it, didn't you, Chris? You didn't.
I did quite like it. Yeah,
like it.
I quite liked it. I'll be honest. It was
not going to like what I have to say.
I was going to say I know Adam hates it.
I just think it's quite sluggish. Quite. Hang on.
No, I just looked.
For anybody who's only listening, you're missing out on Adam Cook's.
I just did a look.
Adam Cook's
he can
today
convey an entire conversation in a single expression, and maybe a one-syllable noise that ekes out again.
But I did quite enjoy the roguelike elements of it, and the more you get through it, the more you unlock, the more weapons you've got, and it makes those encounters a lot easier. Now, when you've got a lot of enemies on you, it's not user friendly. There's no real lock-in. Enemy attacks aren't as like obvious. So when you've got like 3 different types of enemies, say melee, and there's someone shooting at you or whatever, it does become a bit of a mess. But eventually, it does kind of counteract that with the more abilities, the more weapons you have, and the more kind of upgrade you've got to your health and your defense and stuff like that. But for a good solid 3-4 hours, it can be difficult. I wouldn't say I'm disappointed by it because I didn't really have any. I wasn't massively excited about it. I didn't really know much about it, so I wouldn't say it's disappointing. But go on, Adam.
You have the floor.
I'll say all of this with the caveat
that
anybody
was expecting much after the last Hellboy game. Right? I mean, they've been good. Ever.
Look, I'll say everything I'm about to say. I will caveat by saying I think this will be cut. Okay, and I'm fine with that because I've got there's 5 games on this list I feel really strongly about in terms of disappointments, and this is just on that. It's close. I think this is one of the worst games I've played in a very long time. For a number of reasons, but the biggest one for me is that when you tell me I'm going to play a Hellboy game, I feel like by the end of the year we should be talking about it like it's a Devil May Cry game. A Hellboy game, unless you are just making a visual novel like the Invincible game, Chris, that you reviewed recently, right? That I would be fine with that. That's a different thing. But this is a melee action combat game with roguelite elements, as you say. And for me, if that's a Hellboy game, we should be getting some Bayonetta shit here. We should be getting some apps. It is unforgivable for me how poor the combat responds and how you said sluggish. It's just the clunkiest thing. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. This is a Hellboy game. I know, sometimes licenses get in publishers or developers that aren't, whatever. But I couldn't believe what I was playing. I couldn't. The story could be amazing. I remember in your review you mentioned the story's really good, and I'm not massive into Hellboy, so I can't really comment either way. But to be honest with you, man, I couldn't get past it. I was like, this is, I can't believe this is released. It is. You said sluggish, and I think you're a more positive person than me, obviously, generally. But sluggish for me just is I just couldn't believe it. But at the same time, it isn't one of my 5, and it isn't one of my 3, therefore. So I will delete it. But I did want to just say, I feel like it's one of them games. Do you remember when you used to get all the South Park games, and it was they were always so dreadful, and you're like, fuck's sake. And then you finally got them RPGs, and you're like, hallelujah, someone's done it. This is magnificent. This is what I have waited for as a fan. Hellboy, I'm not a big fan of, but it's a game that should be a home run for me. Just copy Devil May Cry, copy Bayonetta. That's all it needs to be. And they didn't. So, but I will, it's only you and me that played it, so I'll cut it, but just wanted to get some feelings out there, if that makes sense.
He wanted his moment to shit on it.
Wanted to hurt me.
No, I don't like doing it. I don't like talking negatively about games. I just couldn't believe the combat, man. It's one of those. What was that game Square Enix put out? Oh God, what was it called? A few years ago, where the guy was deaf. It was an FMV game, and I'm sure the thing was the guy was deaf or something, and basically people were like, this is so awful, but you should play it just to see it. When I've played Hellboy, I was like, I want people to see, because I feel like I'm going mad. Anyway, move on. It's gone, deleted. Crash Team Rumble.
Yeah, it's shit.
I haven't played this one.
I haven't played it,
it's not, again, my genre.
Talk to how disappointing it is.
Oh, okay. No, that was quick.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
No, it was just Crash games generally are pretty decent. Crash Team Racing, excellent. Crash Bandicoot, obviously, it's quite tough. Going back to it, maybe it's because I'm getting older and I'm not as good as I used to be, or maybe I was never good. Anyway, whatever. Crash Team Rumble, Battle Royale, this could be quite interesting. That was slow. That was dull. Mm-hmm. That was just, I tried to play with my daughter, and even she was like, this is rubbish. And it's supposed to be a game aimed at all ages. And it's just, they don't have their finger on the pulse with that kind of genre. And with Fortnite, I know Fortnite's been around, it's had time to grow. But even other Battle Royales where the season pass is in place, you feel like when you earn something on a battle pass or a season pass or a whatever it is, there's something cool to aim for. Whereas this, it's just a bit rubbish. The cosmetics are a bit naff. The way it tries to improve the skills, you never really feel any benefit, and there's no real pull to keep you playing. So that's why it was on there. But no one else has played it. So
can I offer a really quick cut?
Okay. Yeah.
Atomic Heart, I didn't like it. It's not a disappointment, is it? Like not compared to like
was all
Flashback
right.
2 or fucking.
I tell you what was disappointing
Redfall.
about it was that I know you're the same here, right? Because we went into this together, right? We were because I reviewed it, you were playing at the same time. We discussed this quite a lot during. I went into this thinking, this looks like BioShock, right?
Yeah, it's not.
And I thought, and they did this to themselves, like the developers of Atomic Heart. They made a rod for their backs with that opening, with all the trailers. The opening of this game is BioShock Infinite. It's just, and they set it up, and it's going to be this, it's going to be this, it's going to be this. And then I think the thing that they messed up on that was the protagonist is such a fucking unlikable douche in that game that I could not get behind the character, like in any way. Like it would have done better to make him a silent protagonist. But I just think it's not the biggest disappointment of the year. But what that game should have been and could have been, I just think they balked it in some ways. But I gave it a 7. I didn't hate it. I enjoyed I enjoyed the game itself. I was expecting more and I was hoping for more. But I don't think it's the biggest disappointment.
I've cut that from the list. I kind of think Forspoken's not on this list. It's not that bad.
I agree.
Like it's not great, but it ain't that bad.
That game was released at the beginning of the year. Everybody fucking dogpiled it in a ridiculous way. Oh, the script is really childish. Oh, she makes quips all the time. Fuck off. Go watch a Marvel film and tell me that she quips too much. Like, what do you want? Do you know what I mean? The character wasn't particularly hugely likable. And yeah, their world was big and there wasn't an awful lot to do in it. They would have done better to maybe rein the scale of that in a little bit so that it was more filled with stuff. And me and you both talked about how it takes about 6 hours before it lets you play the game, because it keeps reining you in for more cutscenes and more dialogue, and the exposition is clumsy. I like the twist. I'm not going to spoil it. I like the twist to it, which came late game. I liked the exploration, and fucking I like the way she played. I like the feel of that game. Like when you're out in the open world and you're charging across, later, like
it's all
towards
right
the back end of the game, you get that magic surfboard thing where you can cut across on lakes and stuff, and the traversal felt good. The combat was fun. I think that game got really, really unfairly maligned.
It's not a big disappointment. I think it could have been better. I do think the script needed work, but I don't think.
I agree.
I just don't think
it was the worst script. It wasn't the worst script.
But I think that can go easily. Which leaves us with 3, 6, 8.
Can I offer up one?
Yeah.
Right, Lord of the Rings Return to Moria. No one thought that was going to be good.
I don't think it's even
every
that
time
bad.
a Lord of the Rings game gets announced or revealed,
okay.
I always go, this could be the one. This could be a good one, right? When that was first revealed, I'll be honest, I love Tolkien and all that stuff. I thought this looks a bit shit, and it was average from what I can gather from the review. So I'm like, did it really disappoint?
No.
The concept of a Lord of the Rings game not being fantastic is disappointing. It's not the only one on this list. But like, did we think that was going to be the save of the year? Because I certainly didn't.
Look, I didn't think it was going to be the save of the year. I put it on this list, right? I play a disproportionate amount of survival games. I don't know how many I've previewed, reviewed, played in early access this year, but it's a lot, right? And sometimes they do really interesting things, and you're surprised by how interesting they can be. Like Enshrouded is a game that can't be on the list because it's just sort of coming into early access. Enshrouded is a game I imagine I'll be talking about this time next year, because playing the preload, I'm blown away by it. I can't wait to play more. I play a lot of survival games. I've played a lot of Lord of the Rings games. The only one I like recently I haven't probably tried is Gollum, because I was put off by the reviews of it. But I know for me what I want from a survival game, and because there are so many, because it's become a 10 a penny genre, I want a survival game to do something new and fresh and different, and when you've got a Lord of the Rings license, they've got the license, they've got characters from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Fucking what's his name? Gimli's in it. Gimli introduces you at the beginning, like he's the one who's put this expedition together to go back and retake Moria. This is not it's not amateur hour stuff. It's a big license.
Yeah,
I think they could have done more with it, and it's maybe not the biggest disappointment of the year. There's games on this list that were big.
It's worth remembering this is a list of 3.
Yeah, that's the
But I just think for me,
I
the
totally
reason
agree with the Lord of the Rings license disappointment factor. I definitely agree with that piece. But I just didn't.
It's just not that bad, is it?
No,
it's just not.
Or in terms of the expectation drop, I don't think it's that great.
There's 2 games on this list of 3 that I want to stay on this list.
I mean, Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, Moria can go.
Are desperately overdue a good game.
Yeah,
it feels like Middle Earth, the Middle Earth games. Why can't they just make a third one of them for people who love that stuff? It's really weird.
Might got on a game of the year list then, mate, if they made a third one.
Maybe it would be good at that one, yeah. So Return to Moria's gone.
Yeah.
Listen, Payday 3's on this list and no one seems to have mentioned it, and it's not a bad game. It's more Payday.
This is one I put on there. This was okay. I put this one on there because the launch was a shambles, right? That's why I put it on there. The launch was a shambles. And it has been fixed since, right? They didn't. This does nothing that Payday 2 doesn't do. That's the biggest disappointment for me. They didn't do anything special. It's the third of a game in a series of games that are really good. And Payday 3 to me, it was a massive step back in terms of the amount of content. There's fuck all at launch. There's 8 missions. There was nothing.
But not to sort of hammer the point. We're talking about 3. Only 3 can make this list, and
I'm not arguing that it stays. I'm explaining
I think it's just explaining the reason why.
I'm just saying that's why it's on there.
Okay, I misunderstood. Apologies. I thought you meant you wanted it on the list.
No.
Yeah.
So
I played a bit of it as well, to be fair. I had a session with some people on the Discord, and I mean, it wasn't great. It explained nothing for someone who hasn't played another Payday game. It taught me how to put bags on a zip line and not how to shoot a gun and stuff like that. It's a bit of a fucking mess of a game. But it was kind of a bit funny in that manner. It was something where with friends, I was like, this is kind of an amusing, if not ideal game to be playing. But yeah, it's not going to make a top 3, is it? But it's one I've actually played, so I'm chiming in.
We're down to 6. We're down to 6 here. That's Flashback 2, Wanted Dead, Redfall, Master Detectives Archives, Raincode, and Lord of the Rings Gollum. So we're down to.
You feel like the tension is just bubbling now as people get more angry thinking about these games.
Did I get away with it? I think I just got away with one there.
Yeah, I know what you did.
Yeah,
we saw. Chris didn't.
Yeah, we know we saw.
Chris didn't. I would argue that doesn't belong on there.
There's no world in which I get Starfield on this list, is there?
Yeah,
absolutely
I
not.
I have been playing it now.
If it was a 5, I think it goes on this list.
Yeah, probably does.
I think that.
Mate, play this game back to back with Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty like I did, and it's just I don't even know how this
game straight
was
after
released this year.
Play this game straight after flipping Fallout 4 or Skyrim, and you'll be disappointed.
Can I give why I'm disappointed by it, and we can get it off the list because I put it on
No
here.
Man's Sky. There's so many reasons, but carry on.
No, it's none of
them.
them.
I think it's awful. I will add. I've started properly playing it now, and I don't think.
No, I don't think it's awful at all.
It's awful.
But it's none of those reasons that you've mentioned at all. And I don't even think it's a bad game. But I think it should be brilliant. I think it should be fucking exceptional.
And to be clear, that's I do not think this is a bad game.
No,
it's just disappointing. It's really quite a big disappointment because of who the studio is. Mm-hmm. And for me, there are elements to this game which are a massive step backwards on the previous games that studio was made 10 odd years ago. And that's the annoying thing for me with this. It's disappointing. And in a world where, I'm sorry, games like No Man's Sky exist, you can't ignore those other things. That feeling of freedom and exploration. You can't ignore it. And the way they pitched it themselves was this expansive thing, and it's not. It's this restrictive thing, and that's fine because the expansive promise was never really going to be the reality. It doesn't make a top 3, but I'm sorry, there's got to be something much better than that with the next game that they come up with. It has to be.
I think this is a developer that should be considered pioneering in terms of the industry.
No, exactly. This is the point we made in the podcast when we were talking about it. I'm almost not convinced they're in the same tier as some of the other top tiers, but they were before. I don't think you can comfortably put them because they're not pioneering anymore. And that's a sad state of affairs. And I know that's quite personal, but I don't view them on the same level now. I have high hopes for Elder Scrolls 6. Like, I do.
I don't. Not now.
Well, sorry. I have...
No more.
I pray I want it to be really good because I adore Skyrim, as you guys know.
It will be.
But I'm now worried, and I wasn't worried before.
So I think that, as I say, I think they should be a pioneering developer, and they talk a great game. I wasn't a huge fan of Skyrim, but I've liked most other things Bethesda have done as a game studio. But the one thing I could not deny about Skyrim is the emergent gameplay. I hate that term, but it is a good term for what I'm describing. The exploration, the way you would find things. Mm-hmm. In service of whatever idea they decided that would be, you can just go everywhere, fast travel all there. They just killed it. They killed all of it. It is now come. It's. Everyone makes fun of Ubisoft for what people call checklist gaming. Starfield's checklist gaming. Now that doesn't mean it's bad. Like, I quite like checklist gaming sometimes. Sometimes you want to just go down a list. So sometimes when you play a Metroidvania, you end it as a checklist game where you're like, well, I need to do that, that, and that.
Spider-Man is partly checklist
Spider-Man
gaming.
is that too,
you know,
but like
it's fine. It's not a bad thing. It's just the way it's executed. And
Starfield to me feels as though we are approaching a point with like the people at that development studio that they didn't focus test it anywhere outside, or they didn't focus test it with anyone who wasn't afraid to say something negative. Like, it feels as though someone did they say 6 years of development, should have said, this is really not working. But instead it felt like there's a team making this part, and at some point we're going to just meld it all together and fucking pray it works. Now, I don't think any part of it's good, any part of it's bad. I just think it's dull, and like that's unforgivable for me as well. Like, and I think they have to do better than that. Like, I'm not saying it's a 4 or anything stupid.
No,
what I find disappointing is that I think it's a 7, and I think they should be making a 10.
Yes,
like
that exactly is it,
and that to me is hugely. But I also accept that it is not keeping counsel with the other games on this list.
No,
but I did want to. I think this game should be
completely.
so much better than it is.
It really does fit in terms of biggest disappointment as opposed to worst game, though. The word disappointment does work very well for it, but I mean, it isn't making a top 3.
I think if it was a top 5, this is on the list.
Yeah,
but I don't think it makes a top 3. Looking
so.
at what else is here and how angry I'm going to get in a minute,
it's gone.
Yeah.
Can we just also, just for the sake of simplicity and getting this list down to a 4, can we just get rid of Wanted Dead as well? Because I think that game is disappointing, but I think also it is one that would fall into a 5, not a 3. Like, it is a real shame, that game.
I think this is where
I
it will be.
That game.
It will be, same. I think this where maybe I don't know
genuinely.
I quite liked it.
So, like, if you remember, Adam, for me, this is where I literally went on the roller coaster from here to down here in about a day. Like,
right.
I think we changed reviewers 2-3 times.
We did,
in this game.
and that's what I was going to say. I have never there are games I don't like. There are games that I sometimes like for whatever reason. Sometimes when there's so many games coming at you, you might not have to be able to review everything. I have never, except that game, switched off the review.
I don't think it's something we've done in 10 years. I can't think of many occasions.
I cannot review this game. I absolutely. I mean, anybody who comes out and says, "Oh, we're inspired by the Devil's Third," the Devil's Third inspired that game. Have you played the Devil's Third? I mean, maybe it doesn't make the list because it needs to be good in the first place. But Jesus,
it would be in my top 3.
Wouldn't.
There's my hand for me. But then I have not played the lovely Flashback 2, which I'm sure we'll talk about. In terms of the quality of that game, I do think there's a question on the expectations of that. But like, it's in the top 2 for me.
No.
So no, and that's fine. That's why I'm saying it becomes a personal thing. And I think when you get to 3, it does become how disappointing is it to the group? Like, and I get that.
Well, Chris certainly quite liked it.
I wasn't disappointed.
It went from this down to this so quickly. It could have been so good. The first two chapters were great, And I was like, this is actually, there's something in here. This is actually really interesting. They've got Yakuza elements. I was playing 99 Red Balloons and shit. Like this was great. Like, and then it just shat the bed. And like the combat, the camera, the upgrade system, all of it just shat the bed in like chapter 4. And I was just like, what is this? The game just literally nosedived. And it was such a disappointment because I was chapter 1, 2 going, no, this is good. This is something different. There's something about it. There's, side kind of, not missions, but, in between chapters, you go and explore the police thing. And it was interesting. The characters were a little bit quirky. The setting was a little bit quirky. I was like, oh, this is all right. And then, Jesus Christ, I've never seen a game fall off so bad as this. Like, I remember speaking to you about it, Adam. Literally, I was like, I love this game. It's great. It's great. The next day, you were like, am I talking to the same person? I was like, it didn't
let me down in any way. I just detest it. I just did not like it.
So disappointing for me because I was literally, it wasn't like I saw a trailer for it and I had high hopes. I was playing it and I had high hopes. And that's a different level.
Hang on. Before we go any further, that doesn't sound like it's going just yet. Lord of the Rings Gollum, is that a biggest disappointment for anyone in this room?
Yeah. And it's not necessarily. Yeah, for me it is, because there's nothing on that list other than the blatantly obvious one that I'm that disappointed in. So like, I know we're talking about Lord of the Rings games and they're not been anything special for a while, so why would this be any different? But it looked... Oh, sorry, she's disturbing me opening the Heroes tub.
I did like something else. I'm glad you clarified that.
Yeah, she's not farting. So I expected just a competency in platforming. It was jumping up things. There was no clear indication where you were supposed to connect with. It was the enemies were just thick. Like there was so many like Gollum's movements and is like blinking and his mouth wasn't moving, but he was talking. It was just. And the missions were just dull, and it was just really like the story. They had so much they could have done with this story because it's at a time when we know nothing about where Gollum was, and like we know where he got to, but at this specific point, and I know it's not like official because Tolkien didn't write it, obviously. It'd be amazing if he did.
That'd be impressive. Come back.
Yeah, but it was not only was it just an absolutely shit game. It was the way they handled with that afterwards. Their response, allegedly,
wasn't it written by an AI?
Written by an AI.
No, I think that's people saying it looks like it was, and the assumption is, oh well, it was then.
But it's still a shitly.
Oh, they misspelled the game name, didn't they?
Amateur. They don't care about it, and that's just disappointing in both the game itself and the way they handled it. Like it's like they just couldn't be arsed, and no developer should. No, you don't think a game's being made where they don't care. And I'm not saying they don't care, but the impression they got from what they put out and their response afterwards made this a massive disappointment for me.
I also feel like compared to like not all the games that are left on the list, but like I think all but one really. I feel like this was the game that had that more people knew about, that it had a little bit of a buzz about it, or at least
it's the license again. People want Lord of the Rings games to be good.
Oh, totally. Yeah. It felt like Gollum was like it was a long time coming, and like I literally didn't know that Return to Moria, the one that we've already cut, was like I didn't know that was happening until I saw it was like literally releasing in a week.
The Lord of the Rings.
Whereas I feel like this was like 15 years coming.
Whoever owns,
so it had a level of to be a letdown.
Whoever owns Lord of the Rings has basically like let out the license to too many people, because like the reason you didn't know about that is because it's probably a different publisher or a different developer, and like So what are we cutting then?
What about Master Detective Archives Raincode? Let's have because I don't know anything about that game. I know people hated it, but I don't.
Fuck me.
I don't think that's on this. I don't think it's on this list because I don't feel like I was like super hyped for it. I do think it's disappointing. I just don't think it's top 3 after what everyone else has said. Purely because like this is the like director of like the Danganronpa games, which the first 2 are great, but it has not always been amazing. Yeah, but Lyle, you'll be the first to admit then, like showing us your tattoo, like the first 2 games were great. Like not.
Oh yeah.
They've fallen off a bit, It's just
I don't know if they've fallen off as bad as I've heard. That
no, they're not as bad as
yeah.
this. But like, this is just so tedious and so much busy work, and it treats you like you are a duck essentially that can't speak English, because how could you understand anything you're seeing? We'll explain it 8 times. Like when a child's game like Detective Pikachu Returns has less hand holding than this.
It's when it needs to tell you what you've already told it twice.
But it's not just that. Like, on top of all that,
there's loads of things wrong with this fucking game.
Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's a top 3.
The thing is, right? This is where right. I haven't played Flashback 2, but I've seen the review and the scores and everything else. I haven't played Gollum, but I heard there was a reason I didn't play it, because I heard all of the shit that went on with it, right? And I haven't played Redfall because I heard all the shit that's gone on with it. So it's like, it's hard for me, because the only 2 I've played and have loathed are Wanted Dead and Master Detective Archive Raincoat. So it is hard for me. So I kind of need to hear more about the ones I haven't played, because I can't talk to those. I'm just going off reputation, if that makes sense.
I've not played anything here.
I mean, okay, look, Flashback 2, right? Let me think for a second of an analogy for this. So you know how when you were a kid, right? I'm gonna wax lyrical for a second.
You were playing Flashback.
No. You know when you were a kid, you had a favorite family member, right? You had a family member. Every time they came to the house, they would pull a quid from behind your ear, or they would buy you toys, or they would. Do you know what I mean? You had that family member.
Mick was born in the 1950s. But carry on, you.
No, you know what I'm saying. Like,
I'm taking the piss.
You know what I'm saying, right? Yeah. You had that family member that you.
Uncle Adam.
Now imagine that you know it's been 30 years. You haven't seen that family member for a long time. You hear that they're coming to visit, and you get all excited. I'm going to say, maybe he's going to pull a quid. It doesn't matter. I'm 40 odd now, but I'm still going to get excited. Then you see that family member walking up the garden path to knock at the door in a dishevelled old raincoat, maybe one eye half closed, maybe a little bit pissed. Right? They knock on the door. You open the door.
Adam.
You open the door. You're ready to embrace, and then they kick you in the fucking balls. Right, that's what Flashback 2 is. That is what Flashback. And like, this is a vaunted IP, right? Flashback, and I know I'm talking, and this doesn't speak to everybody, because I played Flashback years ago, probably in 1992 when it was released, because I'm that old. It was one of the first games I loved. I think it was the first game I ever completed. Right, I love Flashback. I know it hasn't exactly been in the public eye since. Like, I know there was a sequel in, I think, 95 or 96, which was
like a different. And then they released the Switch.
Yeah, they did a Fade to Black, which was quite different. And then they did a remaster a little while ago. Around the time they remastered also Another World, which is another game that was always kind of is grouped together like they're a sequel of, but they're not. It was just of the same era and the same kind of atmosphere, I guess. But Flashback 2 is like it's a shit cake of a game, and I don't know why. Like, I haven't researched it. I haven't looked into what the developer maybe went through. I know Paul Cassette, however you pronounce his name, I'm sorry, is heavily involved in it. I know that it's made by a team of experienced developers. This is not a bunch of people that have come together to make a student project or something, which is what it fucking plays like. In fact, student projects are better. It's an absolute fucking shambles of a game. And games are bad sometimes. Like, it's fine. Sometimes games are bad. Sometimes a developer can do their best with a game and it's bad. This is a game that retcons the first game to such a stupidly awkward degree. No, it doesn't retcon the first game, sorry. It retcons the space between the first and second game. And, they turned the protagonist into a snarky fucking teenager. Conrad Hart is a secret agent and a molecular physicist. In Flashback 2, he's a snarky teenager who's not allowed to buy alcohol. They keep making that joke. They do this thing between areas where they say, right, take this package to Atlantica or Arctica, and you have to get on a bike and ride for about 3 minutes or so from that place to this place. And the bike ride is literally a bike ride. You sit on the bike and you dodge the traffic. And that's the entire mechanic. And it makes you do that every time you travel somewhere. You can't just fast travel. You can't get on the fucking subway. You got to rent a bike and ride to it. Why? It's a mess of a game. And when you are riding, it just constantly, the road disappears, the cars disappear. This is a game that it's flashback. For me, this is a big deal. And it's not the fact that, like, it came out as quite a surprise. They didn't really market it for obvious reasons. They didn't send it out to reviewers pre-release for obvious reasons. So, you know, you can say that maybe nobody expected it to be good. I fucking do when it's flashback. This is not a game it has a big legacy, that game. Most gamers, not saying most gamers, I don't want to generalize. A lot of gamers our age have a fondness for flashback somewhere. You've played it, you enjoyed it. Maybe it wasn't as big a deal to you as it was to me. This is a big thing, and to take that kind of game with that kind of legacy and just put so little effort into what you've done with it, I just don't understand how it was even fucking made. I don't understand how it was released. I don't understand why they wanted people to part with their money for it. It's a joke, and that, for me, it's the absolute biggest disappointment of the year. And it was a disappointment that came out of nowhere. It was a bit blindsided me. It was still a massive disappointment. I wasn't hyped for it. I didn't know it was coming, and it still managed to be the absolute worst thing I've played this year. And I played Wanted Dead. I played another game we haven't mentioned yet. You know,
we need a cut.
Is
it Master Detective Archives to start with?
For me, I would keep Flashback 2, but that's only me.
No, I think Flashback 2 has to stay.
But
I mean,
it's the passion is too much. It makes me physically angry.
I mean, it's difficult.
You can only have 3. 2 of these are going to go. So let's cut a game.
One of them's staying, right? We haven't discussed it yet. But
Redfall is staying. We haven't discussed why. We will in a minute.
It has to stay. Yeah.
But that leaves...
It's just hard. It's hard because I can see where this is going. And like, I haven't then played any of it. So it's hard for me to talk about the top 3.
But it's difficult to say don't cut Wanted Dead when Chris White's saying he liked it. I wasn't disappointed with it. I think it's a massive shame that they went a very specific route and it wasn't for me. Like, that is one of the most niche games I've ever seen someone go after a market of.
Wanted Dead didn't disappoint me because I didn't expect much from it in the first place.
No, but it's the way the game nosedives.
It's the way it nosedives. It wasn't I didn't have like preconceived expectations.
No, for me, they've gone after a very, very small niche of gamers, and I think that's almost commendable, but also from a financial point of view seems crazy. But they've gone after the people who were sitting there playing like the Ninja Gaiden games over and over on their Xbox original Xboxes, and that just ain't me, and that ain't any of us. And like, I don't. It's not as disappointing to me as what Mick said about Flashback 2. It isn't as disappointing to me as Redfall. And Lord of the Rings Gollum, we had similar passion from Chris about that, I think, and that's where I would be sitting. But we need to vote. We need to get 2 off this list.
Yeah. If we were going for a round of votes, my first pick would be Wanted Dead. It feels like the only one on there that I'd be certain would be like, based on everyone's passion as someone who hasn't played any of these games, that's the one that feels like it's got just like a smidge less passion than the others for how like disappointing it is. Whereas the other 4, I really don't know what I'd pick next, but that gets rid of 1, right? That's sort of
2 people literally said it didn't disappoint them, and they have played it. Like, which blows my mind because it absolutely was a car crash for me. Like,
who are the 2 people you're saying it didn't? Chris White, obviously.
Chris and Mick said it wasn't.
I do think it's disappointing. I just don't think it's the biggest disappointment of 2023.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is, if 2 people are saying I've played it and didn't think it was disappointment, I don't see.
I only say it.
For me, it's very different experience.
I think that the top 3 is quite clear for me. Just when you say the word biggest disappointment, I think you need either something sort of seismic in terms of industry, that really affected everybody. Like, we could easily have thrown on like the layoffs this year, but we're trying to keep it to games that are disappointment. Mm-hmm. And I think when you go Redfall, Bethesda, Flashback 2, historic, Lord of the Rings, that license, I think those 3 kind of just... Do you know what I mean? I just think they stand out.
And that's fine. And I'm sitting there going... But for me, and when we're talking about us 5, I've played none of them, so I can't talk to them in the same way that you guys can. So that's the only reason why I'm.
But in the same way, I haven't played
they...
Flashback 2 and I haven't played Lord of the Rings.
I know. I'm just saying I can't passionately. You're talking about passion. I can't passionately talk about those three because I haven't played them. I can only talk about
one of them because it's the same. I've only played Redfall. I haven't played Flashback or Lord of the Rings, so I don't think Lyle's played any of them apart from Redfall.
I've not played Redfall.
Sorry, I thought you had.
Yeah. So it seems to me definitely wanted dead. Like I say, if two people are saying it didn't even disappoint them, then absolutely should go. Then for me, it seems to me that there's two strong locks of Flashback 2 and Redfall from what I've heard. And then if people think strongly about Lord of the Rings, then let's get rid of Master Detectives. I just think Master Detective is an absolute piss take of your time and your intelligence.
I think Gollum, from what I've seen, is the same.
And it might be, like I say, and don't get me wrong.
Well.
I am here for people shitting on Tolkien. I'm not here for it. It disappoints me, it frustrates me, it annoys me because I love all that series and I can't wait for a game to actually honour the fucking series.
Middle-earth.
I just haven't played it to know. But there's a reason I haven't played it. There's a reason I haven't played those 3 games because I've been told they're dog shit. So,
this is the shit games category.
Yeah.
We have to discuss them.
So I get it.
To give the good games context.
What are we cutting? Are we voting? We've locked 2, so we need to vote.
We can vote.
Fair?
Do we need to vote?
We don't.
Is anyone going to champion Master Detective?
I mean,
for staying on the list, you mean? Not for it being good?
Yes, to stay on the list.
The thing is the two games are very similar, only I feel like Lord of the Rings is actually mechanically bad as well, whereas Master Detective isn't actually mechanically bad. It just takes the piss out of you non-stop.
I think what made me think that I wasn't gonna that Master Detective would drop off is that when Adam was saying that there have been less impressive Danganronpa games, it's not a developer where you are going in thinking this is going to be amazing necessarily. It has its fans, and there's not a Danganronpa game I strongly dislike, but it's not like you're going from this tippity top to this bottom.
I do think
it's sort of a gradual curve.
I do think you could argue that there's not been consistently Lord of the Rings great games, but I'm genuinely, if no one else is pushing for it, let's just cut it down to 3 and then try and rank them and talk about the elephant in the room that we haven't talked about as well.
Yeah,
agree. I think that's the way to go now. There you go.
Oh, go on then, Adam. You've got to talk about it now. We've got to a top 3, and we've not talked about it, so you've got to. Unfortunately, mate.
I feel like you've also probably got some things to get off your chest about this one in particular.
No,
this is quite personal.
I would at the time. I've sort of sit and I've watched, 1 or 2 a month. Someone finds the video where I called it a Game of the Year contender. I've watched the, those comments and they mount up, and sometimes they get you. You should never let the comments get to you, but sometimes they do because it makes you feel foolish, right? I was foolish. I was fooled. That is how I felt after I played the final version of this game, having previewed it and said so many good things about it. I felt fooled. I felt duped is the word I would use. Duped. The level I was able to preview, we had about an hour and a half of the game, give or take, and the level I played of it is the best level in the game, I think, and I really enjoyed it. And that's all you can ever do when you preview a game. I played an hour and a half. This is what I think of it. I'm not ever going to be a cunt about it. I'm sorry to use that language, but I'm sick shit of hearing about stuff like this. I can only write down what I think after what I played, and if this is a pile of wank, then that's I wouldn't perhaps phrase it quite like that. What I played, that level, that section, I thought this is fucking cool. We don't get many vampire games. We've got this game. None of the things that reveal themselves to you when you spend more time with it were present. I didn't see the enemy AI being bad. I didn't see the weird enemy density. I didn't see, I didn't know that the powers were, that's kind of it. I didn't know the way they doled them out to you at the start. I didn't know the way the levels progressed. I saw a level and about 10, 20 minutes. I did, what are they called? The vampire nests. So I saw a vampire nest, which was cool because I had to fight my way through and then escape on a timer. And I saw the cool, scary mansion level where you go in and out of realities and stuff and find a dollhouse. I saw that and I was like, this is, and Maybe I've sort of allowed myself to go, oh, it's arcane. Do you know what I mean? Maybe there was a part of me that thought that hour and a half I played plus arcane.
Yeah.
I know it wasn't the Dishonored arcane. I thought that's why I thought this could be a Game of the Year contender. And at the time, I was genuinely dying to play more of it. It's incredibly disappointing to see the game in this state. Like, I want to actually go back to it now. It's been patched to 60 FPS and all this stuff, and I want to. But when you see the list of patch notes where they're fixed the fact that I think one of them recently was fixed so the human NPCs could, enemy NPCs could climb up stuff, and it's fuck, man. It isn't that. I don't think this game is horrifically bad, and Chris White reviewed it and gave it a 6, which is not a horrifically bad game, but it came out a year too soon. If you look at what they've patched in, I mean, fucking hell, they've done it again with Starfield, but Bethesda and 60 FPS need to have a fucking meeting or something and have a drink together, because you got Xbox. This is slightly tangential, but you got Xbox who have bought Bethesda and its subsidiaries, ZeniMax and all this, and Arcane and everything else that comes with it.
Yeah.
And they're out there going, the world's most powerful the world's most powerful console. So we can't do 60 FPS on our games. Bullshit. Fucking sort that out. That's not good enough. Not blaming Microsoft, I should say. That's not blaming them. That is clearly the developers. But they maybe need, I very rarely say this, maybe they need to get a bit more heavy-handed with their studios. And not be make this work, but maybe be this isn't being released yet.
Yeah.
I'm not saying crunch, not the opposite of that. Have more time. But we're not putting it out till it's good enough. And I've genuinely felt I've done this a long time now. I've done this a long time. I've written more reviews and previews than I could ever remember. There are games I forget I even covered. But I've very rarely felt duped, genuinely Now, whether that was genuine duplicity or whether that was just this is the section of the game we want to play, I certainly don't put that on the PR. Because at the end of the day, it's the developer that provides the build, the developer that does the work on the game and says we'd like to show off. So I don't blame anyone in particular. I'm not absolving myself of blame either. I reported what I saw, what I played, and I was honest about it once I played the review build as well. It was really disappointing. It's number 2 on this list after what Mick said about Flashback because of the historic kind of, it's royalty. You're talking about gaming royalty with Flashback. Redfall's a new IP, and this stuff. I didn't play it co-op at the event. I played single player an hour and a half. Playing it co-op, you realise you can see where they went wrong with the review part of it. You can see someone wanted this to be a co-op game, someone else didn't. It's that Starfield thing of there's someone doing this, we'll hope it works. And it didn't. It
was one of those games where we thought it was a co-op game to start with when it was first announced, and then it sort of became this, it's all single player, and then it very much feels like it's changed directions a few times.
I thought it was a Left 4 Dead alike.
No, it's nothing like that.
When it was first shown, I thought, I played it about a month ago. But I thought it was, and I will say, you said, it's not completely terrible. I played it.
It's playable in small doses.
I kind of enjoyed bits of it. I could see the mess, and I thought the shooting wasn't awful, but that's not really. It doesn't matter now. Do you know what I mean? It absolutely should have been.
They had their window and they missed it.
Yeah. And I would have championed Arcane for anything. After
Same.
Dishonored. I'm joking.
Don't joke.
After Dishonored and Deathloop, what Arcane can do, I need to.
I just think it's not. I don't think that game's unsalvageable.
Mate.
And whereas I think the Lord of the Rings column not only is unsalvageable, they from what I can see, it's finished anyway. They're not going to bother.
Yeah.
Redfall, they took a very, very long time to patch some of the stuff in. It was almost like I did wonder, have they just gone, just leave it, don't mention that game again, let it disappear? But they've credit where it's due, they are trying to do right by it. I haven't played it since to see if it is better. 60 FPS isn't going to save that gameplay. 60 FPS isn't going to fix all that stuff, but they do seem to be fixing stuff like that.
Patching this game doesn't save Arcane though. Arcane need to do something else.
Well, the thing is, it's Arcane. It's not the main Arcane that developed it, and that's maybe where we all got a bit duped, not realizing that you just assume Arcane is Arcane.
But that's something that Look, I don't want to say industry, but we know this stuff. Other people don't. They see Arcane, they go, definitely they did.
At the same part, I just feel like the royalty that is Flashback is why that wins. That game doesn't sound like it can be saved by the patch. It is mechanically fucked.
Oh, for me, that is number one.
I guess. So I guess this is where we need to talk, because like, there's no doubting which is the worst game on this list. I think there is an argument though where it's like we thought that this, and when we think about what this site and this site's disappointment, this site at the preview thought this could be a Game of the Year contender. I don't think people were probably thinking Flashback 2 was going to be a Game of the Year contender. I appreciate the bar wasn't as high and it's gone lower, but that's the other counterpoint here for me, is that we thought this could be up there and then it's dropped to where it is. And as a site as well, I think Red Bull actually is number one here because of everything that's happened to it. And honestly, I'll be really clear. My view on this, I know we've taken the piss out of you all year for this, but actually there's nothing on you here. And I say that seriously. You saying take some of it yourself. You can only report on what you were shown. And what you were shown was what you reported on. And based on that, it could have been up there.
Do you know when I felt less guilty about? Because I did feel bad. Like, I'm not going to pretend I didn't. And we don't talk about that stuff on the pod or that. But I did feel quite bad. I felt like I'd let people down. I genuinely felt like I had let people down by getting something that badly wrong. Because we all get things wrong. There are games I could tell you now I've reviewed, and I look back 10 years ago and think, how the fuck did I do that? How did I give that an 8? And if you know what I'm talking about, you'll know the games. There's two of them that always stand out to me. One of them in particular. But with this one, I really did feel bad. Like, it really messed me up a little bit. Like, I was like, how did I get this so wrong? And you know who? It was my knight in shining armor. It was Mr. Chris White when he reviewed it, because he called out all the faults that I had seen when I played the review build of it. But he also called out the best bit of the game, and I hadn't talked to him about this. And he mentioned the mansion mission, and I was like. And that's when I felt like properly like I'd been duped, because it's like he spotted that mission was great. Why was the rest of the game not like that? And I'm like, I couldn't tell you, but that's what I played. Yeah. And I'm not saying that moment is like 10 out of 10 best. Oh my god, best moment of the year. But that's all I played.
And that's
knowing
all you got.
It's Arcane, I came away going, this could be a fucking Game of the Year.
This could be.
The rest of the games like that.
Yeah, you never came back going, it's nailed on.
Oh. No, but I really didn't think it was going to be up there after that mission. But that's all I got to play. That and
to be fair, how else are you supposed to think?
Exactly.
If that's all you show, mate.
Yeah,
that's all we're given, and that's why it's all on them.
I still felt bad.
I will say, look, it's a weird thing to be arguing over, like, considering what we do and the kind of site we are and the kind of people we are. It's weird to be arguing over why a game should be considered the worst of the like bad games are bad games, and I think this if we could, I'd say that all three of these games are kind of on a par for different reasons. But like, there are games that set out to try and do something and fail miserably, like Gollum. And then there are games that I don't know if Redfall, if they failed something, or if it's like Adam said, they maybe didn't have enough time, or they rushed it out, or maybe it was publisher pressure. Maybe it was the fact that they put their beat
my honest opinion now, with a lot of settled time, is that I think they changed what the game was going to be after Reaction. I think that happens now and again, and they couldn't recover in time, because they still wanted to put a game out, and they would have needed another year on top of that to make the game that they reacted. They were reactionary to what people saw from the leaks and shit. People didn't want that game. Oh shit, let's turn it into this, and I just don't think they could do it in time.
I tell you what,
we need to, because
I'll say one more thing about Flashback. Right, one more thing about Flashback. So I'll compare Flashback once to Psychonauts. Right, this is an example. Psychonauts. When was the first Psychonauts released?
Oh god, Xbox era.
20 years? Was it? It's 15 years, something like that, isn't it? The first one. We're going back early 2000s.
I want to say early 2000s. I don't know exactly, but yeah.
Psychonauts 2 came out. Was it last year?
No.
Same divert.
No, it wasn't last year.
Was it year before Psychonauts 2?
Before, I think.
Yeah.
But either way, like the point is the gap between, right? Same developer.
It was 2021.
And Psychonauts 2 was right. They kept what people they kept the essence of it. They kept, like you said yourself at the time, I think when we discussed it on Game of the Year, would have been 2021, that they kept so much of what everyone liked about the first game alive, even after all that time. Like they still had some kind of a vision and it's the sheer wrong-headedness of Flashback 2 that pushes it for me but I mean just like I said, making the character a snotty teen, you know, it basically repeats the exact story beats of the first game. They retcon into, like, they make it so that he can be doing all this when he should be canonically in Flashback 2 at this point, in Fade to Black at this point, by making him a fucking clone, which has all the story impact of, I don't know, if he found an old piece of cheese in his fridge. It's just so badly done that for me,
let's vote then. I genuinely vote for Flashback 2 as the biggest disappointment, and the reason being simply, I think that game's unsalvageable from what you've told me, and I think Redfall could end up being something half decent. So that's my vote. Flashback 2 for number 1. Chris Hyde.
Redfall 2. Redfall 2? Blimey, that's
Redfall
Redfall.
No,
please, no.
That's next year.
Redfall is biggest disappointment of the year.
Lyle.
Redfall is mine as well, I think.
Mick, I know your Flashback, so Chris White, it's down to you, mate.
Decide, mate.
It's not a good one to have to decide, but we do this.
This is the one you get to decide.
I say we do this award.
Lord of the Rings.
Oh.
But if it was out of the other two, it'd be Redfall.
Well, there we go.
It's fair. I mean, it's a weird thing to want something to win this category anyway.
Yeah,
that's
why I was like, I kind of don't want Flashback. I don't want Redfall to win because it's like it makes me feel shitter. But that's not the point, is it? The winner. So biggest disappointment in third place is Lord of the Rings Gollum. Second place, Flashback 2, and the winner of biggest disappointment, Redfall. I will say I hope it has a success story because at the end of the day, I like games to be good. So there we go. And that is day one of the GodisaGeek 2023 Game of the Year Awards under wraps. Think it was longer than last year's, which is fucking worrying if I'm honest with you. I'm pretty sure that it wasn't quite 3 hours last year, but we'll see. Tomorrow we'll be back with another set of categories. We'll be back with best audio and best visuals. Then, of course, we start to get into it in the week with day 3 with best multiplayer, best new character. Day 4 is best story, best moment. And day 5 is the biggies, most anticipated and the ultimate top 10 game of the year. Thank you for being with us. Know that if you are, you might be a bit late to it, but if you are a Patreon, you get these a week early every year. So, that's worth doing for some people. And it's like, it's £1 and you get them. So it's fine. Thank you to Chris, Lyle, and Mick for being here for day 1. They'll be here for day 2 as well, obviously, which is definitely being recorded tomorrow. And if everybody could just raise their glasses to a Gotimus, my empty.
It's gone. It's all gone. The gin's gone. Why is the gin gone?
We'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye for now.